second star to the right, and straight on till Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast we follow two first-time readers, Sheta and Justin, and we chronicle their journey through Grant Sampson's cosmic series. On today's episode, we'll be chronicling the Stormlight Archive, The Way of Kings, chapters 67 through 69. So now, let's throw it over to the host of Cosmic Chronicles. This is Joe! Thank you, Joe. Welcome, everyone. We are here with Cosmic Chronicles. My name's Joe. I'm the host. And after a week off, we are back here with Justin and Sheta.
Hello.
Hey guys.
I guess Justin became a hardcore smoker.
Yeah, I smoked a lot in that last week. I'm sorry, guys. Could have sounded a little different.
Why do you?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we're back, and this week we're gonna have a probably pretty meaty episode because a lot of shit happened. But before we go into that, let's go into our random question for the week. And luckily, I'd asked people, hey, if you have any, throw them out. And so we did get some questions, so we'll throw one in here.
Do I even want to know? I'm afraid.
What we've gotten so far have been all right. All right, so the one we'll do this week, it will be from Koval Petro 28. Cosmere is a long series of books, and I'm wondering, was the longest book series you guys read, or are reading in book volumes, or if you know word count?
That is a good question. I'd say the longest book series I've ever read, and this is probably cheating because they're kids' books, would be the Animorphs series. Which, how many is that?
Is that like 40-something?
Yeah, I'm double checking. 54 main books and 10 companion books. Though I don't know if I read every companion book or not.
Now, by word count, do you think would Song of Ice and Fire or Dark Tower pass those up?
I think like Atlas Shrugged alone might have passed up the word count of Animorphs, if I'm being honest. Which would be the longest one book I've read, I believe.
We might pass it with this when we later Cosmere books.
Oh, I'm sure it's not that long. I'm just saying.
It was a word weight race, but yeah, it would be Cosmere stuff. I guess for me, probably the Witcher series. There's 8 books in that, but I'm on the last book, so yeah, and I think Song of Ice and Fire is only 5. Oh, 5.
Did you ever read the Dunk and Egg stories?
I did. So 6.
Have you read Fire and Blood?
No, I still have that.
For me, there's a couple. It just depends on what you consider for a series, because like I've said, I've been going through the Star Wars EU books. So on the one hand, they're all like written by different authors, and they're always like separated, like some like just single story books, some like trilogy of books, but they are still continuing the story of Star Wars. And where I'm at, I've read like 50 of those books. If you would consider that a series, then that's probably up there. If not that, then I have read the Japanese light novel series, Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? With that and like the spin-off series and like some of the other side books, I've read like 40 to 50 of those books. They're not super long, but they're not short either, but that's a pretty long series there. Or if you want to go with American fiction, probably Wheel of Time with being 15 books, and they're all pretty big. So yeah, there's our book series things for our longest book series we've read.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, for books, yeah.
So aren't you guys doing a book podcast? Why are you talking about random shit?
Comic books would be Spider-Man. I've read like over 2,500 Spider-Man comics.
Comic books would be an entirely different... To calculate the number of comic books read would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
All right. So we have that. So now let's get back to the Cosmere. But first, let's recap the last episode from 2 weeks ago. I think it's Sheta's turn. I think Justin did it last time.
And he killed it. Everyone remembers.
I think it might be one of the
didn't.
worst recaps you did.
He killed it. It was amazing. Everyone was impressed. Everyone applauded.
No.
Stop talking about yourself in the second person.
He was number one in that podcast. Everyone agrees.
No, I don't think you even got inspiration that day. Okay.
He felt inspired.
He inspired me.
He inspired generations with that. He didn't need inspiration.
Okay. All right. Last week was 66 or chapter 63 through 66. Leighton makes the Holbridge crew updated Parshendi armor because the suicide run thing is officially a move that they're gonna do. Kaladin invites Moash and another guy to run with him, like as the decoy person. I don't remember who the other guy was, but we also learned that Moash has a secret revenge that he wants to have. So I thought that was interesting. Kaladin thinks that the crew, even with this plan, they need to get out of there, and they're thinking maybe we can fake a death of the crew and just run away because he doesn't like where this is going. Kaladin is asked for a fight demo, but for the guys, but he refuses because he's afraid that he'll get too extreme about it, and so he refuses. Then Dalinar and Navani are on. They're an official couple now. And they kind of talk about their past. Dalinar admits he has avoided his feelings for Navani because he was afraid that if he let in a little bit, he would just kill his brother, take the throne, and take Navani. And so that's why kind of the words have been helpful to him because they've been keeping him on track. The big march to the tower collab with Sadeas and Dalinar is starting. Kaladin and them get ready to go too with their armor and stuff. And Sadeas and Dalinar share a chummy moment before the battle, and everything feels good, and they're gonna stop the war and change the war and all that stuff. They do the bridge run. It goes okay. Scar gets an arrow in the foot and gets hurt, but it seems fine. As Dalinar is fighting the Parshendi, he gets feelings for them again, and he's thinking maybe he has to include the Parshendi in uniting everyone. But just as he's thinking about that, Sadeas retreats and leaves Dalinar and his people to die. As Cal is tending to his wounded, he realizes that Sadeas has ditched everyone, and they're just like, well, shoot. Dalinar and Aelin are trying to fight. They're dying. It's a losing battle, but they make up and feel like they can die with honor. And Dalinar gives a really good speech to his men about dying with honor, and we leave them possibly to their deaths. That's it, I think.
All right, that was thorough. You got the points.
Yes.
Yep, and so this week we went through chapters 67 through 69, finished off part 4. So and like I said, a lot of big things happened. Some of my favorite moments, not just in this book, but in the entire Cosmere so far, happened in this week's chapters. We got a lot of answers to questions that we had, so I'm going to ask you, what do you guys think of these chapters?
I don't know what you're talking about. When's anything going to happen? When are characters going to meet up? When's the plot going to move forward? I'm super confused by what you're saying here.
No, that's kind of a spoiler that this is as good as it's going to get from the Cosmere.
He said favorite, not best moments ever.
And I said everything we've read so far.
You said, and maybe ever in the Cosmere.
I never said those words.
Okay. Well, I think it was good too. I couldn't really believe it was happening because it just was too exciting, I guess, and too much what I hoped.
Yeah, it's funny when he gets you accustomed to just nothing really happening, so that when something happens, it feels like it's even more than it is.
Yeah,
I always
it
think
feels
that's a
surreal.
funny feat to do it for a writer, you know?
Uh-huh. I kind of felt like that when Zane started to show his feelings for Vin.
Not even remotely similar in any way whatsoever. Because nobody was sitting there being like, when is he going to show his feelings for Vin? When is this romance going to finally happen that I've been promised?
I'm
all
just
this
saying
time?
the
That
surreal
was
moment
only you.
where I was like, that I thought that was only possible in my dreams, and it happened for real. So I felt like that.
You know, Sheta, how many episodes can we go without you bringing up Vin and Zane?
Oh God, I don't bring them up that often.
I'm going to guess most people don't ever bring them up again. And you are doing it every third episode of this, I swear.
Oh, man. A lot of people try not to bring them up while they're reading Well of Ascension.
Well, I disagree with that. I found that plot super interesting. I wasn't skeeved out by it, but I certainly didn't find it to be that important of a plot.
It's just never happened to me before. Okay.
Yeah.
I like. Yeah. It was just fun and surreal for this. It felt like a dream. These chapters, like all the stuff that was happening, that felt, yeah.
And I'm gonna have to ask you again, Sheta. Do you still think Sadeas had a positive reasoning for betraying Dalinar, like you were going on last week?
Well, not positive exactly, but there was a part that I thought answered that for us in these chapters.
Yeah, I was surprised it was as positive as it was, actually. I owe you an apology a bit, Sheta.
Yeah, he's not just evil, So I thought that was...
Yeah, he's not just evil.
He was following what he thought was right, so that's all I'm saying.
Yes. Okay. And when John Wayne Gacy was following what he thought was right, Sheta, would you use the same defense?
That's not even the same thing, so I'm not gonna...
Okay.
Thaddeus literally says that he's been trying to get power from Elhokar and he just wanted Dalinar out of the way.
He says more than that, to be fair.
Yeah.
But we can go into that when we get there. I have a couple things to say.
So we'll start off this week with chapter 66, Codes. Epigraph. That chanting, that singing, those rasping voices. Subject, a middle-aged potter. Reported seeing strange dreams during high storms during the last 2 years.
That's very interesting. Know that this isn't a one guy kind of thing. It's happened to others. And I'm curious to see if we'll get to see other major characters who are experiencing this in the future.
Yeah, but that guy seemed like a rando and not like, someone up high and stuff,
Yeah, that tells us that it's not only people up high getting them. It makes me wonder if there's some reason for it or if it's just like some random thing. Like, it makes me very curious to see what the trigger is for why this happens to some people.
Yeah, but it's interesting though that when Dalinar did go back or, saw that stuff, he went into a random person, like he was kind of with a peasant person. So
not important people. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if it is that random or if something is happening to that guy.
So we begin this chapter and wait, did I
read the wrong book?
No, oh, never mind. That was last week's. I was like, wait a minute. I could have sworn we talked about that epigraph last week. And now I'm looking at the first paragraph. It's like, wait, no. That was the last chapter we did last time.
That whole conversation did feel very similar to me.
Oh, did we do deja vu?
Not so much deja vu as more just Joe fucked up.
Yeah, but did I say the same response? Like, that's funny.
All right. So here we go. So our first chapter is actually chapter 67, Words. Epigraph. Let me no longer hurt. Let me no longer weep. Die Gnarthis. The black fissure holds my sorrow and consumes it. Subject. A dark-eyed female juggler. Note similarity to sample 117289.
No, I didn't look it up. Is that a sample we have?
I have no idea.
Okay. I was wondering, but I didn't go through the entire book to see.
Because these samples aren't really numbered.
They're not? Oh, I
guess.
I thought it was just the date for some reason. But yeah, you're right. That doesn't make sense.
Well, that's not fair. How are we supposed to find clues?
All right. So here we go. Now this chapter begins, Bridge 4, they're lagging behind the rest of Sadeas' army. Kaladin just feels exhausted, and he's also thinking about the audacity of what Sadeas has done. Sadeas has sentenced thousands of both light and dark eyes to death, and they were people who were supposed to be his allies. And Kaladin wonders if there was no hope for men. What good was it to fight if there was no difference to them between enemy and ally? So when they reach the chasm to cross, Kaladin tells his men, don't set the bridge yet, we'll wait. Instead, we'll let all the soldiers, everyone cross, and then we will set it down and go. We'll get ourselves times to rest. And the other members of Bridge 4 are looking back in the tower, and they are sickened and found it shameful what is happening. And Metal yells at them to, set down your bridge and cross now. And this gives Kaladin an idea. He tells Metal that, they're going to rest for a few minutes, and then they'll set down the bridge and cross on their own bridge. Right now, if they go and keep going with everyone else, they're just going to slow down the entire army because they'll have to keep waiting for Bridge 4. And Sadeas will get upset with Metal that they have to keep waiting for a single bridge. So you guys can go on ahead and we'll follow. We have nowhere else to go anyways. And Metal, Kaladin can tell that in his mind he realizes, you know what? Those Parshendi might hunt down Kaladin afterwards and kill him. And this could finally be my way to get rid of him. So he decides to allow Kaladin to do this plan. So Metal and Sadeas' army, and they just keep going on. Bridge 4 just waits, and until eventually they're out of eyesight. And that's when Kaladin tells his men that they're free now. Because what's going to happen is, Metal is going to assume that they're going to follow him. But since they have a bridge, they can go whatever way they want to go on these chasms. They can escape. And Metal and Sadeas, they would just assume that Bridge 4 were killed. So Sadeas will not be sending anybody to chase them. But then Kaladin thinks about the injure that they still have back at Sadeas' camp. And he can't leave them there. So he tells the rest of the men to go on and that he will return alone. Sigil says that they won't leave without him. Kaladin tells him, no, you're going to go. That is an order. I'll try to find a way to escape later. But Kaladin, even with this, he still feels unsettled. And he's not feeling unsettled because of the wounded back in the camp. And then Kaladin looks over at Syl, who right now is full human-sized. And she's staring back at the tower with horror in her eyes. Kaladin looks at the tower, and the sight of it twists his heart as he watches all the men on there just fighting hopelessly. He thinks for a moment that they could take this bridge and go back, but decides that's idiocy. Rock looks on with Kaladin, and he asks if they could do anything. But Kaladin says that, if they would go running at the plateau without any sort of support, it would just be suicide and they'll all get killed. And even if they did somehow save Dalinar and then just ran off and escaped after that, Dalinar, some of his men would wind up talking. So Sadeas would know that Bridge 4 had survived and would be sending people to hunt them down. And Kaladin's looking on, by himself now, and he thinks that Dalinar, he's probably like the others anyways. He's just a Light Eyes pretending to be virtuous, but just corrupt inside. And Kaladin whispers that they owe him nothing. And then Syl asks Kaladin if Windspren are attracted to wind, or if they make it. And she says that she remembers what kind of Spren she is. She binds things. She is honor Spren, spirit of oaths, of promises, and of nobility. So there you go. You have the kind of Spren that Syl is.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really interesting. Of a question for her to ask. Do oath Spren exist because of honor and nobility because it just exists in the world and she shows up when it does? Or is she supposed to be creating it by existing? I think that's an interesting question for her to ask of herself, kind of.
Like, what's my purpose or reason for being?
Like, why am I here watching this? What am I? And to know that she's probably just here because Kaladin has so much of that in him is very interesting.
And Kaladin, he can hear the men dying, and he thinks about how Dalinar, he would always fight at the front of the armies. And Kaladin thinks about how he himself has been betrayed in the past. And Kaladin, pretty much, he's yelling at Dalinar that he doesn't owe him anything, and he will not be fooled again. But he's also thinking of his father's words, that someone has to start and do what is right because it is right. And Kaladin also thinks of the words of the first ideal of the Knights Radiant. Life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. And then Kaladin looks over at Bridge 4 and says that they have to go back. And they all look at him, nod, and they lift up the bridge and begin to run back towards the tower.
That is a huge difference between how they were at the beginning to an almost comical degree. Like being forced to rush in to die like this, to just nodding like this, like, yep, this is the correct thing to do. Like to even care what a correct thing to do is,
Yeah. He seems to have really instilled honor in his men, He comments on that before too, but without really thinking like what it is and what it means. Like the fact that they would have just pushed any new guy in front of them to die instead of themselves before.
Yeah.
And now they were volunteer for suicide runs,
Yes. It's funny the difference in people, It's a suicide run either way, but when you feel you're forced to do it, you're just so sluggish. You don't care. You'll do anything to get out of it. You'll
be cowardly.
To escape, you would hide behind, you would do anything you can, but you just get somebody to like respect somebody a little bit and they will fucking die for you pointlessly, because none of them could be thinking, I bet we'll be able to save them at this point. I bet they're all just thinking, good, I don't want to sit here and watch this happen. And the fact that they've gotten in such good shape because of it, just all these positive things, it's very interesting that he's using this bridge crew to show how the entire army is supposed to be if they have a purpose to fight, as compared to how the army is now, which is just doing whatever just because you're ordered to. Who gives a shit,
Yeah.
Even right up to the generals and the people leading this whole thing, like nobody cares that much,
Yep.
So this is a very interesting payoff to what's been set up the whole time. Not where I expected things to go.
I hoped it would go this way.
Yeah.
And to me, like this whole segment with Kaladin, it's like I was saying, this is one of my favorite things in this book and in everything we've read so far, because it's like a culmination of everything for Kaladin's character building up to this point. Because you have him remembering all the bad shit that's happened to him because of Light Eyes. You have him remembering his father's words that we heard before. You have, the words of the Knights Radiant going through, like everything just going up, and then him just realizing we have to go back.
This is his character moment for sure.
All right. So then we're back into the battle. Dalinar and Adolin, they're fighting the Parshendi, and their armor is taking many hits, and a lot of cracks are forming on their shard plate. And Dalinar's armor, with all the cracks going, it's beginning to feel heavier as he fights. And he thinks, and, he feels like he was satisfied with how he handled his life. But it does feel sick about how he led his men into a trap. And he also thinks of Navani and how all this happened once he finally had started courting her. He had wasted 6 years, and now she's going to have to grieve again. And then Dalinar notices something out on the plains. He sees a single bridge running back towards the tower. He gets Adolin's attention and points it out, and Adolin just does not believe what he's saying. And so Dalinar calls for an assault formation and tells the men to punch through down to where the bridge is. They will fight their way down there. And, Dalinar figures that the bridge crew, they will be slaughtered by the time that he and his men get there, but hopefully the bridge will be set. This was a hope for Dalinar's army, and it's giving them that much more strength to be able to fight. And then we go back to Bridge 4. They're running at the plateau, and Kaladin, like earlier, he's running out in front with his Parshendi armor, the shield and stuff, leading the charge. And Kaladin notices that Dalinar's army is now fighting their way towards the bridge. But Kaladin, as he's looking, he just thinks this is not going to work because there are just so many Parshendi there. And Dalinar, he would not get down to the chasm in time in order to stop the Parshendi from killing Kaladin's men. But Kaladin thinks that this is his choice, though. It's not someone playing tricks on him or a twist of fate that forced him into this. And he thinks of his choices in the past. He chose to follow Tien, he chose to fight the Shardbearer, and right now he's choosing to rescue Dalinar's men. He wasn't fighting for Sadeas or to line someone's pockets. He was fighting to protect. And then Syl points out that some Parshendi archers were about to shoot Bridge 4 over from the side. And Kaladin knows he will not be able to stop those arrows in time. And he shouts, "Side carry right." And they hadn't done it in weeks, but Bridge 4, they were able to move the bridge over to side carry, and it winds up blocking all those arrows.
Yay! I was happy for that. Call back.
And then Rock yells as another volley of arrows are fired from in front of them. And Kaladin shouts, he gets his shield up, and he feels just Stormlight burst out from him. And then on his shield, he just feels an extended impact, and it winds up pushing him back. And then the men of the bridge, they just stop running. And Kaladin, he's done being pushed back, and he looks at his shield, and it was covered in hundreds of arrows. Some of them had even punched through the shield and are embedded into his wrist. And Bridge 4 is just shocked. And Moash says it was like the sun burst from Kaladin. Yeah, and the shield, it just pretty much disintegrates in Kaladin's arm. And then the Parshendi archers, they're just stunned, frozen, and they start chants of Neshua Kadal before fleeing. And Teft and Dabbid, they grab and they haul Kaladin over to a more secure area because, he doesn't have a shield, his arm's all wounded. And Teft says that Kaladin needs more spheres and asks Scar for some. But Scar says that Kaladin took all the spheres this morning. And Teft tells Kaladin that his skin looks like ash and that Kaladin had likely done something to himself. So they lay Kaladin down on his side and Kaladin can see the tower. Scar says that they need to help. And so Scar, Teft, Lopen, and Dabbid, they all leave to go try to help the bridge. Kaladin, he's trying to get up, but at this point he's just way too exhausted and just cannot get up. Kaladin asks Syl if there's anything that she can do, but she shakes her head. And he sees, the bridge is running at the waiting Parshendi, and Kaladin knows they're all going to die. It is happening again. And Kaladin thinks of all those that he had failed in the past, and his mind goes back to the day that Tien died. And then we cut to a flashback in the middle of the chapter. Kaladin, he's in the middle of a battle, and it is his third real battle since he joined Amaram's army. It has only been a few months since he had left Hearthstone. And Tien, he was supposed to be a messenger for a few years, but recruitment was low, so Tien and some other messenger boys were instead organized into squads of deep reserves.
Fucking bullshit. Lied through his teeth, that bastard did.
Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I hate that guy more than Sadeas. That's why.
Well, I'd agree, because he pretends he's a good guy, know?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he probably thinks I bet when he said that, he meant it,
Yep. He's the worst. I hope he gets a comeuppance later.
Oh, I think that's going to be where Kaladin will eventually get his shard blade.
I believe this is mine, and he'll take it.
And Dalinar had said that those squads of the messenger boys, they wouldn't be used unless the army was in serious danger. Well, the current battle right now is, Amaram's men, they're on a hill, and they're trying to hold it, and they're completely surrounded. So Kaladin's thinking that, this sort of battle could be considered serious enough for those messenger boys to be put in. And most of Kaladin's squad has fallen. So Kaladin, he's heading towards the top of the hill where a lot of the rest of the army is. He's supposed to go there, get himself reassigned to another squad and join the fight, but he just wants to find where Tien is. He finds Dalinar and tells him that he had been sent with orders to find the squad made of messenger boys. Dalinar tells him, yeah, they're with Bright Lord Sheller's company. And so as Kaladin's heading there, he's grabbed by some person and is supposed to join in the battle. But Kaladin is distracted when he sees Tien with Varth's squad. And he wonders why Tien and the two other small messenger boys in this squad were shoved right in the middle of that formation. The front and middle. And then Kaladin, he gets stabbed in the leg with a spear from somebody else, but he doesn't notice the pain. And then he reacts and kills that enemy soldier. It was Kaladin's first kill.
I really like that first kill part. Only his third battle, it's just in reflex and self-defense. It really shows that he is a natural killer too. That he was able to that quickly do it, even though he's like, shit, did I just, but doesn't really have time to think about it.
And Kaladin looks back at Tien as the enemy is about to hit Tien's line. He shouts at Tien, who looks over at him and smiles. And then the rest of Tien's line just moves backwards, leaving the three messenger boys standing there exposed. So the enemy descends on the messenger boys and kills them. And then Varth's squad moves in on those distracted enemies. And then Kaladin stumbles forward towards Tien's body, and at this point, Amaram's cavalry begins running through the enemy. Kaladin gets over there and he calls Varth a bastard for leaving those messenger boys out in front. Varth says that you work with what you have, and you have to turn a liability into an advantage. And then after Varth leaves, Kaladin holds Tien's body. He was supposed to protect him. He cries and says that he will bring him home. And he held onto the body long past the battle ended as it grows cold.
Man, imagine making a promise to his father, don't worry, we'll just keep him as a messenger boy in the back. And then not only, having that be a lie and saying, okay, well, if we really need him, we'll need him. But having it be, okay, we've got these untrained people, and having one of your men, which, they're following your way of thinking if they're your men, be like, if we're going to have these useless boys, we can at least use them to just die for a momentary distraction. That is one of the biggest lies I've ever heard. That's like an evil lie to have said to the boy's father when you conscript him into the army over some bullshit.
Mm-hmm. No honor, no responsibility.
Yeah. Like, why even say that? Just be honest and say, this is the way. If he just said, sorry, this is our custom, I'd respect him more. But that fucking bullshit of, don't worry, we'll keep your boy safe since he doesn't know combat, only for him to die specifically because you didn't teach him combat, I think is horrific,
Yeah.
And that line from Varth of, you work with what you have, turn a liability into an advantage. Kaladin has thought of that line a couple times through the book.
Yeah. Well, that would
I did not think it would be like this.
Yep, because at first it's like when Lopin joins the squad and, Kaladin's thinking, we could put him in front, take an arrow, then he thinks of that line. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then when you first hear that line, it sounds like the sort of thing we think of. You need to take someone's like hidden strength and put it there. But no, it's the exact opposite of what it was. Yeah. And then again, when he gets Shen on the team, the others are saying, let's put him in front to take arrows. Kaladin once again thinks of this line. He's just like, no, we're not going to do that.
I think it's fascinating that they tie Kaladin's backstory with Tien here. The whole book, they haven't told us what it is. And I'm like, what could it be that's worth holding on to so long? And then we see what it is. It's really not that much. But it ties into the entire theme of what Dalinar is going through with the Way of Kings. It's like the ultimate don't let your men do what you would not be willing to do thing I've ever seen, because he's like, if you're going to live, you need to learn that lesson. You need to learn to send untrained boys out to die so that you and your guys can live a little longer. It's just so pathetic and lame of a strategy, It's like, there's like
cowardly.
A lot of times, as a general, a lot of times you're going to have to send men to die. That's just part of it, This is on a whole other level. Like, who could possibly respect this kind of thing, It's not even smart. It's just poor planning,
It's wasteful. Yeah. It's wasteful, just like it's the same with the bridge crews too, with they're supposed to be killed, So it's just a dumb, wasteful strategy. So I think it's all under the same, like, that's wrong. You got to change, It's not even a good way to war,
There's more reasons than just good guy reasons to follow that Way of King's rule, Because like we're saying with this, your men are militarized here to just commit suicide for the greater good, because you're doing what they do and they believe in you so much, And like, if you want the most efficient fighting force, you can't really have people who are like, my job here is to get shot and not even pretend to make a difference,
Yeah.
Like, I think of in Starship Troopers when they say Marines' jobs are to die, or, dying and fighting is like all we're good for, something like that. And at least they can have a sense of pride in that, With this, it's just like, you would have to conscript people into that army. That's what I think I'm trying to say. You are not going to get volunteers for that kind of thing as much as you would if people felt like this was an honorable war.
Yeah.
And going off of that, if you think about it, Dalinar soldiers, they're the ones, they follow the codes. They're the, with all the Alethi armies, they're the ones that actually seem honorable and stuff. They're also the ones where they said that they're the best soldiers.
Well, you're gonna be. If you're trained well and you take it seriously and you believe in it. I mean, they say a little bit, fighting to kill and fighting to live are two different things, if you're fighting to live and to preserve your ideals and your thing, you're going to kill a lot more than other people are.
Yeah, it's all the mindset. No, it all matters.
Again, just one more thing on top of it. When you're in power, you can just send people to die. People will have to do it, or you can kill them. You know, you have that ability. And people like Sadeas seem to get so used to that they don't even think that they could be stronger and more efficient if they acted as if it wasn't that easy, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly what Kaladin says. Like, you don't even know what you have here. It could be so much better.
Yeah, you're right. He did say that. These guys have become like a very strong, very committed fighting force, you know? Yeah. And instead they're being sent to die for an efficiency that I'm sure you could come up with a better way to have, you know?
Just lazy and uncreative. I can't believe the small things that Kaladin has done to be creative has been like way more efficient. Like, let's just send one guy, or let's just like, you know.
Yeah, what is it? Innovation is the product of desperation or something. There's a quote like that, you know, where if you've just got everything you need, you're never going to come up with something better ever.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, this really makes me hate that guy even more than when he killed. I could forgive when he killed Kaladin's men to steal the armor. You know, I could understand where he's coming from. This is just makes him probably my most hated character we've ever encountered in these books now. And that's compared to frickin' Straff and characters like that even.
Amram also didn't remember it. Remember, Kaladin's like, yeah, I joined Hearthstone for my brother. Oh, yeah. No, so he did not remember any of that.
To make that promise, how many people has he made that promise for? Just so he doesn't have to feel bad when he carts these like young men away, you know, as people protest, as he conscripts people into the army, you know. A real like general would be like, I have to feel this. It's my duty to feel this, you know, as the man who sent, like, I'm doing a big thing here. I must feel this feeling. He's such a little bitch is how I'm interpreting him as here.
At least have the honor of looking them in the eye and saying, yeah, your son's gonna die.
Not he's going to die, but I am not going to do anything to ensure that he lives because that is not his role in this army, you know? At least that. Your son will die if he's strong, or live if he's strong, maybe, you know? But no, they didn't even train him, so he had literally no chance to live. It was impossible.
All right, so back to the chapter, and Kaladin, and we're back to the present, and he's thinking it's going to happen again. And then Syl asks him if he knows the words. And Kaladin says that he wanted to protect them. And Syl tells him that's why she's come. The words, Kaladin. He thinks of those that he has failed, but he tells himself no. And right now, the bridgemen, they're in the middle of pushing the bridge across the chasm. And the Parshendi, they're waiting there with their weapons and stuff. So pretty much once that bridge is across, they're going to go across and just slaughter all the bridgemen. And then Kaladin stands up, and he grabs a spear from Lopin's litter, and he remembers the words that Teft had told him. When the time comes, I hope you're ready, because this lot will need you. And then Kaladin begins running, and Syl shouts, the words, Kaladin! And at this point, he runs up the bridge that's only halfway across the chasm, and he jumps the rest of the chasm. And while in the air, he notices and remembers the gems that are woven into the Parshendi's beards, and he breathes in the stormlight from those gems. And he lands on the plateau, and the Parshendi shied away from him. And in that moment, Kaladin was amazed to realize that he knew the words, even though he had never been told them. And then he says them. I will protect those who cannot protect themselves. The second ideal of the Knights Radiant. And Kaladin explodes with energy, and a burst of whiteness washed from him, pushing back those Parshendi. Moash says that something has changed. Some of those Parshendi flee while others step up, and Kaladin begins to fight. And that's the end of that chapter.
And that jump was frickin' baller. That was badass. That moment of just being like, hey, those jump, like, you're not thinking in that moment. That could have been a suicide jump, you know?
That was very anime. I could see it, like,
yeah.
halfway through the air being like, you know, power up.
Yeah,
and I just love that too. Like him just going and saying the words, like especially Syl's just asking him, say the words, Kaladin. Do you know the words? And he gets there and just I will protect those who cannot protect themselves.
Yeah, that's a mysterious thing that I bet you have theories about that I think you've talked about before, Shita.
I have.
Oh, never mind. Okay. You do just shoot out so many that you forget half of them?
Well, yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
All right, this is a longer chapter. Anything else from this chapter either you two want to go over?
Probably a lot, but I'm so eager to move on. I did not stop reading here. In my head, this is all one long chapter. Joe, you should have been a total dick and just stopped the chapter right there. Or stop the reading right there.
Yeah, I couldn't have done that. These 3 chapters had to go together.
Nope.
You just make last week's episode super long and this week's episode of chapters short.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I didn't really give a shit about this gem sucking power, I'm going to be honest, until he jumps over and sucks it out of everyone's beards. That's just too badass. Like, what a
So
weird,
ugly.
contrived situation to set up just to make me think that this thing is cool, I'm very impressed with that.
Granted, it's also something where it's been slowly building up the power through the book, so you haven't really seen much of it to get too attached to it. It's not like Allomancy where you see it the entire book.
I don't know. It's pretty hard to sell me on magic systems. Like, it's funny I'm reading these because I'm not the magic system guy, so...
So you're like admitting that's pretty cool. They set that up. Like,
yeah, it is. It's impressive. They made me think, man, that's fucking cool. This power's cool. That's good writing. That's impressive. That's good action writing, or anime writing, like you're saying.
Yeah, the action was good, and the setup where these separate elements come in, like you said. Like, we know they have gems in their beards, but we never thought they could be burned up like that. So
I think my favorite trope in all of fiction is when somebody just dives into a situation with no plan whatsoever, and then just has some kind of thing that is set up. It's not just bullshit where they're able to actually do something. They dive in because their feelings tell them they have to. And then some other element makes it possible.
God helps them.
Die. Well, it's kind of like superhero stuff in that way. You have some power, You don't dive in thinking, I have this power. You dive in whether you did or didn't, So this was a very cool instance of that, in my opinion.
Definitely like a leap of faith.
Yeah.
All right. So this chapter was called Words. So why do you believe that was chosen for the chapter title?
Well, obviously because there were words throughout the entire chapter. That's how we read it.
No, it's because we're going to have words with Sadeas after we're done here.
Yeah, that's it. I like that better. Otherwise, I could not guess why it would possibly be called that, Joe. Can't even think of a single reason.
Don't make me say it, okay? Kaladin remembers the words.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, actually.
The words, Justin. Do you know the words?
I think I already forgot them.
I thought I think the words are like a Green Lantern oath kind of thing where you have to say it.
There's something deeper, more important.
Yeah, like it's like a vow or a promise,
And I think it's interesting is with them, it's protect those who can't protect themselves, correct? I think it's interesting that, you think of that and you think of, the weak, some vague idea of the weak. But in here, it's an entire army. They can't protect themselves because they just can't. It's not possible. So it gives those a bigger context than just like the generic one that we're all used to hearing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, because it's not protect the weak. Like, sometimes, screw the weak. They're weak for a reason. It's...
Okay, Jesus, Strap. Okay.
Justin, she's been pro Sadeas all book.
I guess so. However, there is truth to that. There are those who are weak by their own choice, and you don't feel a lot of sympathy for those who are like, oh, help me, give me this, give me that, teach a man to fish, that kind of thing,
Yeah, think of a zombie apocalypse, the weak are just going to drag the entire group down. So.
But people who cannot help themselves, as they said earlier in this book, everyone has situations where they can't help themselves, It's just It's just a truth of the world. And to just abandon people in that moment is not very human. So I like that distinction if that's purposely being set up here.
I think it is. Since they are the words, they are definitely not just picked willy-nilly,
True.
And we know a little because, I think Teft had talked about before how you had the different orders of Knights Radiant, and they each had 5 ideals. And the first ideal was the same for all of them, but the other 4 ideals were different between each order.
I see.
So we had because the first ideal is the, life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination.
So we got all kinds of ideals to learn going forward. That's fun. Be excellent to each other and party on, dude. That's the one I want to find.
That's the 7th one. Just kidding.
Yep.
They have the most fun.
All right. Well, we'll move on to chapter 68, Eshonai. All right. The epigraph. They named it the Final Desolation, but they lied. Our gods lied. Oh, how they lied. The Everstorm comes. I hear its whispers. See its storm wall. Know its heart. An Asia's itinerant worker. Subject of particular note.
Yeah, I'd say so. This guy was pissed about that desolation shit. It's like calling it the war to end all wars. And you have another one a decade later.
2 decades later.
Is it the Final Desolation? Was that it?
Yeah. Final Desolation, or Arietium, is also what it's called.
Okay. I just thought that, I wonder if that was a little Brandon Sanderson joke about how they didn't want him to call it the Final Empire. That people would be confused and that he would lie about it.
Yes, that was him just yelling at his publishers.
Yeah.
This entire book was just that.
No, I thought he was saying "Oh, you guys are right. I didn't want to do that to my readers and trick them."
Yep. He accidentally reached out. They reached out to Earth Prime, where fans are complaining about that kind of thing with these visions. That would be stupid.
That would be crazy.
No, it would be awful. That would be terrible.
It would make no sense. They don't have Aegis people here.
No, that was the person who said it. They were channeling a fan on a Reddit forum.
Oh my god. It's a comment from Reddit user.
Yep. That would be so fucking that would be funny if they're just if you have a world where you're just receiving weird extra universal Wi-Fi signal things that are about the most mundane stupid shit, but people are trying to interpret it what these visions could mean, but it's just nerds arguing about book titles.
Wow.
Let's write that book. That sounds great.
It's gonna be like my skeleton strip dancers idea that is not gonna work.
Oh, I'm sorry. What the fuck are you talking about? Why do you just say that like anyone knows what you're saying?
That's a callback to Emperor Soul.
Was it?
Just something about using that power to make a bunch of
my god. Yeah, I remember now.
I wrote it down it was a good book idea, and then I read it the next day, and it was not a good book idea.
I think we tried to tell you that at the time,
Sheta. Justin, your idea just makes me think of the end of the Legion of Three Worlds with Superboy Prime getting back to the Prime universe and going on the message boards complaining about the Legionnaires.
I know how to beat them. I'll be a fanboy online.
All right, so into the chapter. The Kaladin army continues to battle their way through the Parshendi towards the chasm with the bridge. They were the best trained army in the war camps, and they knew it. And the Parshendi, they were fighting to kill, but this time, the Alethi were fighting to live. And then we jump over to Teft, and he watches in amazement as Kaladin fought the Parshendi. His body was glowing, and his speed was just incredible. Stormlight did not grant skill, though. It just enhanced it. So Kaladin, his fighting, wasn't just him because of his Stormlight. It was a master with a spear, enhanced to astonishing levels. And the other bridgemen were watching in awe, and Pete asks, what is he? And Teft says that he's our bridge leader, and he needs their help. So Tef gives orders to the men to form ranks and not allow Kaladin to get surrounded. And he tells Rock and Lopin to pull back any wounded that happen. And he also has Lopin toss Kaladin a new spear because Kaladin has broken his. And then we go back to Dalinar, and he's fighting, and he figures that the bridgemen, they must be dead by now. But he blesses them for their sacrifice. And then he bursts through the Parshendi out onto open ground. And at first he thinks we've made it. But then there's still Parshendi in front of him. And he realizes that the bridgemen are still alive and they're fighting. And so they're taking the attention of those Parshendi. And the bridgemen fighting, it was the most glorious thing Dalinar has ever seen. And Adolin, he lets out a whoop. And his helm, it's been shattered. So now his head is exposed.
I'm sorry, was it a whoop? Was that the word used? Like a whoop?
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
I'm reading it so fast, that word did not register in my head. I'm sure it sounds a lot more badass and like the way it was meant to be than what I'm hearing.
Yep. Adolin just shows up. It's like, whoop, there it is. Going back to the 90s.
That's kind of what I'm imagining. Whoop,
oh
whoop,
my.
Daddy, let's go. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man? I only get one last word. I'm choosing a whoop whoop.
Can I get a whoop?
Yeah. Dad, can I get a whoop whoop over here for these bridgemen? Whoop whoop, son. Whoop whoop.
Indeed.
Yeah, whoop whoop indeed.
Oh, I hate us. Can you delete that?
No fucking way. That will live forever in shame.
All right, so back to the thing, and Dalinar, he tells his men to get down there and give the bridgemen support, because if those bridgemen die, then they will all die. Because likely thing is, bridgemen die, Parshendi push the bridge down the chasm, and they're dead. So Dalinar, he continues fighting through the Parshendi, and then they open up in front of him, and at this point he sees the Parshendi Shardbearer standing in front of him. And Dalinar is annoyed that the Shardbearer waited until now to show up.
I like this almost comedic part of like, what now?
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that sounds like a Phase 4 MCU joke, you know?
Oof.
The way I heard you just say it there.
But Dalinar guesses that, that Shardbearer must have been allowing the other Parshendi to try to take down Dalinar themselves and win his shards. But now, since Dalinar is about to escape, the Shardbearer is stepping in. So all those Parshendi surround the two of them for a big old fight. And the Shardbearer says something in Parshendi as they begin to fight. And Dalinar, he's sluggish from the battle he's gone through, all the cracks in his armor, while that Parshendi was fresh and had undamaged armor. So I'm not going to go through all the fight, but, as they fight, eventually Dalinar's arm guard just gets too damaged, so he has to drop his gauntlets. So now he has one hand that's just open to the air. And he knows that there is no running from this fight. And then we go back to Kaladin, and he's fighting, and this is he fought, and he felt the most alive that he has felt in many, many months. And the Parshendi, they pretty much have recovered from their shock of seeing him speak the second ideal. So they're fighting back. And the Parshendi, they were also trying to get over to the bridge and knock it free. But the bridgemen were holding the ground. And Kaladin, he was flowing from one attack to the next, as if it was just one single motion. Kaladin was both protecting and killing. How could something so terrible look so beautiful?
And badass. I always love this kind of confused thing with writers where it's like, I hate war and violence, but goddamn is it fucking cool. When the pacifist violent writing is some of my favorites, so I find these themes very interesting.
Like, I'm not trying to glorify violence, but this is pretty awesome looking.
Yeah, I'm against it, but god damn is it fucking cool. Yeah. And I mean, we all got to fight sometimes, like, you know. Because all these books so far have had a pretty anti-killing stance to it, and some of the most brutal killing from our heroes I've ever seen. So,
yeah, just like, we can appreciate some badass fictional.
Not even just fights. Ellen chopped a guy's head off.
Oh yeah, no, the violence in these books is some of the most violent I've ever read.
Oh, I don't know about that, but it's pretty dark. That's the word I'd use. it wants you to feel the weight of killing. I think that's how I'd say it.
Yeah, like another thing that I think of like that is like A Song of Ice and Fire is like very like anti-war, especially when you're reading some of the stuff in Feast for Crows. But goddamn, is the Battle of the Blackwater such an awesome battle scene?
Yeah. And goddamn, are some of the most evil characters in those books interesting and fun.
And possibly vampires.
100% a vampire.
All right, and during the battle, whenever Kaladin's spear would break, Lopen would toss him a new one. And while he's fighting, Kaladin was impressed with the Parshendi, because they would only send in 2 or 4 at a time to fight him, and they always fought in pairs. They had respect for Kaladin and for his skills. And they also seemed to back away from fighting Scar or Teft, and they mostly focused on Kaladin, Moash, and the others who just seemed to have more skill. They had the honor that Kaladin had found absent in most of the Alethi.
Oh.
In the Parshendi, he found what he had hoped to find in the soldiers of the Shattered Plains. He found himself respecting the Parshendi, but he fought on because he had chosen a course, and these Parshendi would slaughter Dalinar's army if Kaladin stopped. Eventually, a person in shard plate broke through the Parshendi, and then he was followed by other soldiers in blue. And at this point, Kaladin's Stormlight began to fade, because the Parshendi, they had stopped showing up to the fight with gems in their beard. So now that you have these other soldiers showing up, Kaladin goes over to Rock and asks for a report. And he tells him that 3 bridgemen had died. Malip, Earless Jax, and Narm.
And the fact that I could not tell you who any of them were is shows you why they died narratively.
How could you forget Earless Jax?
I completely don't remember Earless Jack. I remember there was a guy who had a thing where they called him that because there was a guy with the same name, right? Was that it?
Yeah, but
No.
the other guy...
No, there was only Earless Jax. There was not anybody else named Jax.
Yeah, but we made a little joke about it, about how...
Oh, is that it? So I only remember him from a joke we made about it.
Yeah, I only remember Earless Jax because of the nickname Earless. Malip, I was looking up. I think he only gets mentioned like once or twice before this. And Narm, he did not really do much, but he was kind of one that was, along with Moash, like the longest ones holding out against Kaladin. Like they were usually the 2 dicks whenever it said them.
Did he just show up and be like, Norm?
Yeah, that's what I
just
said.
Usually it just said like, yep, and Narm and Moash were still against Kaladin or stuff. So Moash got all the characterization. Narm was just there.
Poor Narm. So it's Moash's best friend.
Yep, his best friend. That's what we just said.
Yeah.
Yep, and 5 more, bridgemen also had serious wounds, but Rock and Lopen had already seen to them.
Roken ship.
Right. So Kaladin tells the men to pull back across the bridge. And Kaladin now, he goes over to a Kholin soldier and asks him who's in command. And the man says, well, Dalinar Kholin. Kaladin's like, okay, who is your captain? Who's in the immediate command?
Yeah, I know. That's funny.
And so this man, he tells him that, yep, my captain's dead. And so is my company lord and his second. They're all dead. So then Kaladin goes and he looks for an officer. And while he's doing this, he does see Adolin fighting off the Parshendi. But he decides, you know what? I'm not going to bother him right now. So somebody brings Kaladin to go to Brett Lord Havar, who is commander of the rear guard. But right now he has an enormous gut wound and he's coughing up blood. And his second is also dead. And so the man that's telling Kaladin all this, Kaladin sees that he's a Light Eyes, and he's like, what's your name? Nakom Gavel. So Kaladin tells him, all right, you're being promoted. So now you need to get the men across the bridge. If anybody claims to outrank you, then send them to me.
I think it's so funny, you're promoted. Can you do that? Who the fuck are you? Yeah, you're promoted. Get to work. Like when it's so chaotic that if some random guy just tells you something, you'll be like, you know what? Fine, whatever.
Sure.
He wouldn't be saying this if he didn't have the authority to, right? Like,
I think it's kind of sad or interesting that that's probably what happened a lot in real wars, when people were dying so much like that, like you didn't know who was in charge, like
you just have some rando take command.
You're just like, yeah, I guess I'll do it,
Yeah.
Yeah, like a field promotion.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the authority to give a field promotion.
Yeah. But he knows, he understands,
Yeah, he knows the system, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, okay, we just need someone to be in charge to get people across,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What am I thinking of where that happens like 5 times in a movie? I don't remember. Sorry for bringing it up.
And like that, it also shows you just how bad this battle's been. It's like, all right, who's in charge? Yeah, he's dead. So's the second, and him. Oh shit! All right. Oh, here's somebody, and he's currently dying, and his second's also just.
Like, all right, let's just stop. Let's just Kaladin's realizing we're not gonna get to the end of the line where it's gonna matter. So I'm just gonna pick someone at random at this point. Yeah.
He was a light eye, so it worked enough.
Yeah, good enough.
Yep, and Kaladin, he sees that, a group of Alethi who are not leaving. So Kaladin and Moash, they fight their way down over to those Alethi. And, he talks to them, and they are the Cobalt Guard, and it's their duty to protect Adolin. Kaladin asks them where Dalinar is, but they don't know. Kaladin tells them they have to pull back, because if they stay here, they will be surrounded. But they will not leave Adolin.
These guys were my favorite. They're like, we're doing our job we're just doing our job. That's what we're here for. It doesn't matter if we live or die. And they even apologized to Kaladin. They're like, sorry, we will not do that. So I really, really respected these guys.
Yeah.
They knew their place.
Especially when we compare them to Amaram's honor guard, who ran away from the shard bearer.
That too. But they weren't dicks about it. They weren't like brainwashed, mindless people who were just like, we serve him no matter what, and you're
you're gonna get everyone killed,
Yeah, it was the sorry that I really liked,
Yeah.
Like they don't like what's happening either,
They're trying to do their duty in their
And it shows that they believe in their duty.
They've committed.
Yep, so Kaladin and Moash, they fight their way over to where Adolin is, and Kaladin, he stops just a little bit out of range of Adolin's shard blade.
Smart. I wasn't worried, but I was thinking, how are you going to stop in all this chaos from your own bridgeman being cut down in this battle as the soldiers get closer?
Get away from my reach.
Yeah.
I feel like I've died that way in a D&D game before. Your AoE kills me.
Anytime somebody does fireball. And so Kaladin shouts at Adolin and gets his attention. And he tells Adolin that he needs to retreat because his troops cannot fight any longer. And Adolin tells him that he just saw his father, and he saw that, his father's Rishadium went out for him. And so Adolin right now, he wants to lead a squad to get to his father. But Kaladin cuts him off and tells him, no, you need to retreat. Because if Adolin falls, then these men will have nothing.
This random dark-eyed slave being like, no, right? Or
Prince.
Yeah, Prince, basically just ordering them around, I think is so funny. And he's just got enough authority in his voice that people are weirdly listening to him. And he's probably covered in fucking blood too, actually, right?
And it'd be
killed
blood.
So many people. Yeah, he's got to look like quite a thing here.
But Adolin's like, but my father's so close. So Kaladin says that, all right, I will go for Dalinar.
That was the funniest part. Some random, barely armored guy with a fucking spear walks up to a guy in full plate armor who's been battling guys for an hour. And he just, don't worry, I'll go take care of it. This felt like in a video game, like if you're playing Dragon Age and you didn't put any armor on your character, and yet still people respect and listen to you because you're just so badass.
Well, I don't think Adolin's too happy with it, Kaladin.
Oh, but he listens because he's so close to dead. But like, if you weren't, and this unarmored dude came up to you and said, "I'll go take care of him," you'd be like, "Are you joking?" Like, thousands of men of highly trained soldiers have already died. What are you gonna do? But when he's like, "Okay, I am half dead right now, so what else can I say?" I found it so funny.
All right, so he tells Adolin that he needs to lead the retreat and to hold the bridge, and only the bridge. Adolin glares at Kaladin, but he goes along with the retreat. And Kaladin, he sends Moash along with Adolin. But the Cobalt Guard, they decide they're going to follow Kaladin to Dalinar. And Kaladin, he draws in light and he runs as fast as he can. And he's able to get through a lot of the Parshendi because they're kind of distracted. And then we cut back over to Dalinar, and he's on his knee, and he's been beaten down by the Shardbearer. And the Shardbearer then kicks their foot into Dalinar's chest. And then the Shardbearer, they hit his helm again and again until it just shatters. The Shardbearer looks over Dalinar as if searching for something. And Dalinar's wondering why he doesn't just get killed right now. And then the Shardbearer leans down and speaks in Alethi. It is you. I have found you at last. And then there is a disturbance from the back ranks of the Alethi, and Dalinar thinks, that's Sadeas. He's come to rescue him. And then a man plodded through all the Parshendi holding a spear, and this man was glowing. And then we cut over to Kaladin's POV, and he sees the Shardbearer standing over Dalinar, and he notices a fissure in the leg armor of their shard plate. And Kaladin, he takes a spear, and he stabs it into the crack, and the Shardbearer screams in pain and drops their shard blade. The Shardbearer tries to punch Kaladin, but misses, and then Kaladin takes out the spear and stabs them again in the leg. And the Shardbearer drops down to his knees, and the Parshendi around him, once again, they begin saying Neshua Kadal, and they shy away from Kaladin in terror. We go back to Dalinar's POV, and he's shaking his head, he's trying to clear it, it's all woozy, and he sees now that the Shardbearer is down, and he thinks, you know what, we can get the armor from him, and then I can fulfill my promise to Renarin. And he sees the young man that's there. He's no longer glowing. So Dalinar figures, all right, that must have just been my imagination. And the young man also has, Gallant, his Rhyshadium. And Kaladin, he tells Dalinar to get up on your horse. Dalinar first doesn't want to because he wants to get the armor. But Kaladin tells him that you're supposed to be honorable. And Dalinar's men won't leave without you. And my men won't leave without me. So Dalinar, you need to get up on your horse and escape. And Dalinar looks into Kaladin's eyes and agrees. And he knows they wouldn't be able to get that armor out of here anyways. So they retreat down, they get through the Parshendi, and they get across the bridge. And after they're across, Dalinar, he looks back at the tower. And at this point, the Parshendi, they have started working on the Chrysalis, which pretty much everyone has forgotten about. And Dalinar thinks that the Parshendi, they could harry Dalinar's men all the way back to the war camps, but it looks like they are not going to follow them. And he sees the other Shardbearer across the way on the other plateau, and they have their helmet off, but it's just too far away for Dalinar to really see their face. And the Shardbearer raises up their blade in a salute to Dalinar. So Dalinar summons Oathbringer and returns the salute. And Dalinar has his men now set up a triage, and while everything's going, he focuses over on the bridgeman and the man who had saved him. He goes over to him and he finds that man treating the wounds of another. Dalinar asks him why Sadeas had sent them back. And Kaladin says that we weren't sent back. We did it on our own against orders. Dalinar asks why they came for them, and Kaladin says it was by accident. Dalinar asks him how he can repay him. Kaladin says he doesn't know. They had been hoping to flee from Sadeas in all the confusion. They might still flee, but Sadeas now will know that they did, and they will hunt them down and kill them. Dalinar says that, I can take you back into my camp, but Kaladin doesn't think Dalinar's camp will offer any safety, because he will be at war with Sadeas now. And Dalinar wonders, does this mean war? A war between the two of them would shatter Elhokar, and right now, Dalinar does not have the troops or the allies to be able to stand against Sadeas. Also, Sadeas doesn't want to risk outright war. That's why he did this whole betrayal thing. And Dalinar tells Kaladin it won't turn to war. But Kaladin says that if he went with them, then it would be considered robbery. And that the codes that Dalinar upholds would demand that they be returned to Sadeas. Dalinar tells him that he will take care of Sadeas. He vows to keep them safe. And Kaladin looks into Dalinar's eyes, searching for something, and he agrees. Besides, he can't leave his men back at camp, and they don't have enough supplies to run anyway. Dalinar thinks that he could not allow this to lead to war, but it cannot go back to how it used to be. Sadeas has upset the balance, and it could never be regained. And that's the end of the chapter.
I find it very funny to watch Dalinar in his battle, confusion here. He seems so stupid and out of it, but you don't blame him because he's in such a crazy state. But then it's really impressive to see how quickly he gets out of it when he starts to get his bearings again and he's not being harried by attacks every second. Like he puts things together very quickly.
Yeah, it just shows that his training and his studies with the words has changed him and stuff like that. Where he's able to snap out of the thrill and
is that the thrill, or is that just getting hit in the head one too many times?
Yeah, no, I guess just war disoriented, battle disoriented or something.
Like, he was sure he was gonna die, I was sure he was gonna die. I was already imagining, I'm like, oh god, do I gotta watch Kaladin and Adolin make it out? And Adolin's like, we're going to war with Sadeas, Kaladin, and you're my new right-hand man. I'll fight him to the death for all this. And then I'd have to watch this, like, I'll follow my father's example and all this shit. And I was like, I don't want to see that,
Yeah, well, I love Adolin, but I like Dalinar being the main character of that arc.
I was really not looking forward to that, and I could totally see it happening, so I was glad when it did not.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I read this, especially since I came from this after just reading this book, I read right after reading the first Law. And that's a bit much more dark, kind of nihilistic story. So I was going into this, when we get to this battle, it's like, they're all going to die. Everyone's going to die here.
I never thought they were all going to die.
Yeah.
But Dalinar, I thought, was fucked for sure.
Yeah. Or at least I thought it was going to be either Dalinar or Adolin. One of those two would die first time I read this.
When Kaladin went over there, I was just filled with hope. I was like, everyone's going to make it out of there. Like,
really?
Yeah. I was like, it would be too sad if someone didn't make it. Like, it would, this whole thing
Earless Jack Sheta.
That was before they went over.
Oh, right? I see.
Like, I just meant when Kaladin's fighting and like, it's just like a up and up kind of feeling,
Mm-hmm.
So I just, I'm glad everyone made it out, like, and it was all just good,
I always feel so sad for the characters who, everyone you care about lives, and you're like, oh, that's good. This is a happy ending. And you're like, it wasn't a happy ending for those 3 guys who died. I always feel bad for those characters that the writer's like, well, the audience doesn't care about these characters. I need to set the stakes by having some people killed off, so I'll kill off the ones nobody will be sad about.
They were made for that.
I know they were. It just always makes me sad for those guys.
You could say it was kind of a happy thing because they were fighting for what they believed in. They weren't fighting running the bridge. They chose to go back.
That's not untrue. And at the same time, if Rock had died, I'd be very sad.
Yeah, it is sad to have that feeling.
Is it even right to pursue what's right? It'd be bittersweet. That's what I'm saying. Were those 3 dying? It's not bittersweet. You're like, well, I didn't even really know them very well.
Acceptable losses.
Yeah, acceptable
losses. But
now we're thinking like Sadeas.
Yep.
So, Justin, since you've been almost the entire book saying all of Bridge 4 was going to die, were you thinking that, like, throughout? At what point did you think maybe they won't all die?
Once Kaladin said we're going to go back, I thought things were going to go somewhat similar to this. Not exactly like it, but somewhat. Because I'm like, this doesn't seem like the kind of story where you'd have Kaladin's backstories, everyone around him dies. He finally understands to do what he believes in, even though he's so scared of that. And then everyone dies anyways. I didn't think that was going to be the story. That would have been a very dark, unhappy story. I would have been very fascinated by it, but I didn't think that was going to happen here. Basically, once he said we have our way out, I figured at least Rock was not going to die. However, I'm very surprised that the old guy starts with a T.
Teft?
Teft. I was very surprised Teft survived. I did not think Teft was going to live.
I mean, he's still injured. He could still die.
The other thing is when Moash said, I need to get revenge against somebody, that's probably the moment that I thought, okay, they're not all going to die, because it would be pretty... I don't think this is the kind of writer who would say something like that just to get a cheap kill,
Especially introducing it so late in the story, like introduce that and then have it happen like kill him 2 chapters later.
Well, there are writers who would do that. Lost would do that sometimes, where they're like, hey, what's this mystery? Nope, they're dead. Just because you wouldn't see it coming.
Too bad.
Yeah, your brain is wired to think if there's a mystery, a character's going to live, you know. So I don't think Brandon Sanderson's that kind of writer from what we've seen so far, though. You know, you need a certain level of nihilism to your work to be willing to do that. And it's kind of mean to the audience. It's hard to be a popular writer if you do that too often.
Or Joss Whedon with his stuff where
yeah,
he liked killing characters and getting you emotional about them. Half the time it worked. Half the time it's just like, that was just a dumb death. Anything else from this chapter either you two want to go over?
I really liked how Kaladin talked to Dalinar and Adolin. I thought that, sometimes characters act all cool, like with their guys, with their friends and people they're comfortable with. But once they see an authority or something, they get kind of scared or, but
he's going to get shy all of a sudden.
Yeah. I thought that
he's Mr. Light Eyes.
Yeah.
I need you to leave the battle.
Excuse me,
what kind of main character would that be? Jeez.
I don't know. I didn't really know how he was gonna. All we know that he hates Light Eyes and he talks all this shit about them behind their backs and stuff. But I didn't know how he was gonna be because of how he was before.
But he's just gonna be like, yes, sir, master, yes, sir. Once he comes against them, even though he acts like he hates them so much.
Yeah, he's gonna just cowl down to all the stuff he was raised with or something.
That would have made me really rethink the character.
Yeah, well, we just haven't seen that yet. We've seen a little bit of him interacting with Adolin, but Dalinar.
We did see him. We saw him a little bit talking with Lamoral and Matal and stuff.
Yeah,
sure, they're lower level Light Eyes.
He had nothing but disrespect and contempt for them. He could barely stop himself from back talking them.
Yeah, but this is Dalinar Colin, a big one, Yeah. But, even then, I thought he might have a little bit of respect or something like that, but he was very blunt with him.
Yeah, if he didn't have respect, he wouldn't have done any of this,
Yeah, but you know what I mean, just
deference to his title, to be like, you are above me.
He was very candid with both of them,
It's because they're his kind of people. The kinds of people he should be hanging out with, because by all rights, he should be a light-eyed lord,
So the chapter of this title was Eshonai. So why do you think that was chosen for the chapter title?
The chapter of this title, yes.
The title of this chapter, all right.
Sorry, that sounded so
I was funny. Wait, am I stupid?
It was called Eshonai?
Yes. Why do you think that was chosen?
Eshonai. I don't know what Eshonai is.
Wait, how's that spelled?
I will tell you, the title of this chapter, that is the only time you've seen that word in this entire book. It never shows up in this chapter. It's not shown up before.
And then I'm going to guess that...
Ooh, I have a good guess, too.
It's Syl's true name. That's my guess. No, she didn't do anything in this part. That was in the last one. So... It's got to be the god that what are they called?
Hurry up! I want to say my theory.
The bad guys worship. I don't know how I forgot what they're called here.
Oh my gosh! No, I think it is the name of the order that Kaladin is fighting on without knowing it. That second words group.
Yeah, I think that's likely as well. As my very articulated theory.
The Ashernai have returned, or whatever the word is, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, it'd be pretty funny to just call your chapter Jedi before you even introduce what that is.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Or it's Kaladin's true name. That's my other theory.
Or it's Dalinar's true name.
No, that doesn't make sense. Mine makes sense.
Because that guy was like, "Oh, I have found you at last."
I felt like he was saying that to Kaladin. That's how I interpreted that. Like Kaladin rushed in and he said that there. That's how I interpreted it. But there's no actual really strong evidence that that's the case. I just interpreted it as Kaladin ran in and he kind of half turned while Dalinar's all confused. And it's him that they've been searching for, Because Dalinar didn't do anything here that would make me think that he would say that,
I don't know. I thought he tipped his hat to Dalinar.
Yeah. And it could be that. Like I said, there's no like strong evidence for me to think that. That's just my feeling.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, I did not read that at all. So.
No, you listened to it.
Ho ho ho! Get out.
All right. So next we'll go on to the next chapter. And at the beginning of the chapter, there was another thing of artwork. This one, the picture is like a guy holding up a sword with like light coming off of it. This artwork is called The Relief of Nalan Elin.
Oh, I thought that was a different. I thought that was going to be the relief of Navani after Dalin comes home.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you think such a thing?
I was like, ooh, what's this spinoff? Sorry.
So
what is this?
There's text under it. It kind of says a bit what it is.
Oh, okay.
What, you have text underneath yours?
Yeah. It said something underneath it.
I have the hardcover. There's no text underneath it. It's just a picture.
It's right before 69. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It says charcoal rubbing of a relief of Nalan Elin carved on the wall of His Majesty Elhokar Colin's palace at the Shattered Plains, circa 173.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is not on my copy at all.
That's weird. Which version came first?
I've got the hardcover, but also it depends on like when the printing was too. Like,
oh, that's true.
Hardcovers, hardcovers, they come before the mass market paperbacks, but your mass market paperback still might have been printed before my hardcover was printed.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. So, what year is it in the book?
Huh? In the book?
Yeah.
It was like 1173.
And didn't you just say that said that same year was when this was commissioned or circa?
Yeah.
I think that's just when the rubbing was done.
Yeah, yeah. So it's recent. That's what I'm saying. And it's on Elhokar's wall, correct? That's what it said.
Yeah, in their castle, I guess. We've never seen their castle.
Oh, in the castle. Okay. No, it said on the Shattered Plains, didn't it?
Their palace in the Shattered Plains.
I see.
Yeah. I mean, if Elhokar is king, then yeah, that's pretty recent. So.
Well, he's been king for 5 years, hasn't he been? Or am I remembering wrong?
6.
6 years?
Yep. All right. So we'll go into the chapter. We're at chapter 69. And this chapter is called Justice. Epigraph. All's withdrawn for me. I stand against the one who saved my life. I protect the one who killed my promises. I raise my hand. The storm responds. Subject. A dark-eyed mother of 4 in her 62nd year. All right. And so the chapter begins, and we're in a Navani point of view. Not sure if you remember, but when we started this part, it did say Navani was going to be a POV character. It just took until the last chapter of the part to get it. Yep, so we're with Navani, and she pushes her way past some guards in Sadeas' camp, and as she is forcing herself to remain calm. She has heard rumors about what has happened, but she tells herself that Dalinar's fine. And she sees Sadeas' army returning, and they don't look like a force that has suffered a disaster. Sadeas, he was wearing unmarred shard plate, and one of his men goes over to him to tell him that Navani's here. And then Renarin arrives, just wide-eyed and frantic. He comes up to Navani asking what she has heard. She tells him that Sadeas' army has returned without Dalinar's, but Sadeas' army does not look like it has been in a rout. And then Sadeas' soldier tells Navani that she may approach him. And while she goes over there, Renarin joins her. Right, and Sadeas, he gives Navani his condolences for the loss of her brother. And she steels herself and tells Sadeas to explain. He says that the Parshendi overwhelmed Dalinar's army and that it was a folly for them to ever start working together. And Sadeas says that he fought hard to reach Dalinar, but the numbers were just too great. And he saw Dalinar fall with his own eyes. And then he saw the Parshendi carrying away bloody chunks of shard plate.
Man, to tell that to people, the guy's son and a woman that everyone knows he's close with is so brutal and funny to me. Bloodied pieces of him were ripped off and carried away. Most people, if they'd actually seen that, would keep that to themselves,
Yeah, like he died honorably and peacefully,
yeah.
quickly.
Got ripped up, torn apart, wasn't my fault, nothing I could do. That alone makes him sound shady as hell.
Well, Navani never liked him, so he's probably like, hey, you know?
Yeah, but he's trying to keep his cover here, you know? It's not just I saw him fall. He was ripped up. There was no hope. I had to leave. I'm sorry, you know?
It was unnecessary to say that stuff.
Like, don't worry. He died in horrible pain. His last moments were of pure terror. Like,
yeah, his body was disgraced and like all that stuff. Like,
died like a little bitch. Like,
and Navani, she feels cold and numb, but she sets her jaw and says that she doesn't believe it. Sadeas tells her that he understands. Dalinar was his friend and ally, and he will make the Parshendi pay. Sadeas' men bring a chair for Navani to sit in, but she refuses. So instead, Renarin sits in it, and he grasps his head and he just stares at the ground. And Navani thinks that Renarin is High Prince now. But no, he's only High Prince if she accepts that Dalinar's dead. And she notices that Sadeas, the army's back, and he has also brought back all of his bridges. And Navani tells one of her people, McCall, to bring her a brush pen and her burn ink. And she has it. And then on the ground, right in the middle of Sadeas' war camp, Navani begins painting a giant prayer glyph. She's painting, tears flowed as she paints. Dalinar, he has no wife or daughters to pray for him. And whenever she ran low on ink, she had her attendants bring her more ink. She paints a giant Fath glyph, which means justice. And then once it's done, she burns the glyph, because the ink's made to burn quickly, and that way it can send its soul to the Almighty for the prayer. And then an anxious voice calls out to Sadeas. And Renarin, he goes to Navani, he thanks her for the prayer. And, a bunch of the soldiers around, they're scrambling, and Navani pushes her way through those soldiers, and she stares out into the shattered plains, as a creeping line of men were limping back, led by a man in slate gray armor. And then we cut over to a Dalinar point of view, and Dalinar, he's riding gallant and leading the army. And, since Dalinar had lost his gauntlet earlier, Adolin had given him his to wear to replace it. Originally, Adolin didn't want to do that, but Dalinar had convinced him that, if it got to fighting, you're younger, I need the armor more and stuff. So Dalinar, he has Adolin's gauntlet. And, Dalinar, he also needed to make sure that it did not come to fighting. But he wanted to storm up and kill Sadeas right now. But his soldiers were too weak, and a war would destroy both him and the kingdom. So Dalinar tells Elthal, his highest-ranking surviving officer, to take the wounded to his war camp, and to tell Teleb to bring the entire camp to alert. Prepare for anything, but hopefully nothing. And Dalinar, he's also gotten word of how many people survived. I think it was like 2,600 of his men had survived out of the original 8,000. And Dalinar tells Kaladin that he should go with his men to Dalinar's camp. But Kaladin says that if Dalinar is confronting Sadeas, then he will stay. Kaladin does say that he should send the rest of the bridge to Dalinar's camp, but Teft argues that they need to stay together and see this through. And Dalinar notes the discipline in the bridge crew, and that this did not come from Sadeas. Though Kaladin's eyes were a dark brown, he held himself like a bright lord. And Dalinar sees Navani and Renarin, and Adolin wonders, why are those two in Sadeas' war camp? And Dalinar, he rides up, gets off his horse, and he embraces his son, who right now was displaying outright joy. And Dalinar looks at Navani and asks if she was worried, and she tells him that she was terrified. Dalinar embraces her, and she says it appears that she was missed. She notes that others will talk, but Dalinar replies that he just doesn't care. On the battlefield, when he was about to die, he realized that he spends too much time worried about what others think. He only had 2 regrets back there, one for Navani and one for Renarin. Dalinar says that he keeps thinking of his vision with Nohadon, and about how Nohadon had rejected his suggestion for writing down his wisdom. There was something there that Dalinar still needs to learn. And Dalinar, he releases Navani, because it is now time to confront Sadeas. He tells Adolin not to summon his shard blade, and to keep all the men, keep them in check.
Yeah, chill.
Dalinar will not allow this to come to blows. And Sadeas will not attack them here, but Sadeas might try to provoke them. So Dalinar walks up to Sadeas, and he sees that somebody had burned an enormous Fath glyph onto the ground. and Sadeas was standing right in the middle of it. And Sadeas calls Dalinar, his old friend, and apologizes for retreating, but the safety of his men came first. And Dalinar says that Sadeas, he did what he had to do. Dalinar walked closer and quietly asked Sadeas that he needs to know why. Sadeas says it was because of his oath to protect Elhokar and this kingdom. Dalinar says that their plan was working. Sadeas says that he is confident that he can defeat the Parshendi on his own. Gavilar died because of his weakness. Sadeas wanted to attack the Parshendi when they first met, but Gavilar insisted on a treaty, and that got him killed. And now Gavilar and Dalinar's ideas are starting to infect Elhokar. Sadeas had struggled for years to become Elhokar's most trusted advisor, but Dalinar was always there. And in the end, Sadeas just wanted Dalinar gone. Sadeas says that Dalinar is going insane, and that what he did was a mercy. He was allowing Dalinar to die in glory instead of descending further and further. And then if Dalinar had died, he would have become a symbol for the others to rally around, and he could unite the kingdom like Dalinar wants. And Dalinar asks, well, why didn't you just pin the assassination on me then? And Sadeas tells him that nobody would have believed that. And he also thinks that Elhokar already knows who tried to kill him anyways. And if Sadeas tried to blame Dalinar, then Elhokar would have defended him, and Sadeas likely would have lost the position of High Prince of Information. Dalinar thinks about how the visions had been wrong about trusting Sadeas. Acting with honor didn't gain Sadeas' trust. It only opened Dalinar up to betrayal. Dalinar tells him that he showed him something today. Sadeas showed him that Dalinar is still a threat. And then we switch over to Kaladin. And Kaladin, he's watching the confrontation. And he looks over and he notices Mittal in the crowd. And Mittal, he just in the face that Kaladin can see in him, he knows that he's likely going to be punished just like Lamoral was. And Kaladin thinks that they should have just killed Kaladin at the start. And Kaladin thinks about how Dalinar had promised to free them from Sadeas, but where had promises from Light Eyes gotten him in the past? Sadeas tells Dalinar that they can talk later about what went wrong, but it's safe to assume that their alliance has proven unfeasible. Dalinar tells Sadeas that he's taking the Bridgemen with him, but Sadeas replies that he cannot part with them and that he's also not looking to sell them. Dalinar offers 60 emerald bromes a man, which is 20 times the normal price, but Sadeas says he wouldn't do it for 1,000 and tells Dalinar to leave and to leave his property here.
So sad. He's just looking here to have somebody to purge out his anger and frustration on, by having these just bridgemen to kill. It's really lame.
It's very petty.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, you want them? Like, no.
Well, also, they ruined his plan. He must be putting that together,
I thought he was just kind of being petty for petty's sake.
I think both, I think he's already planning how to execute the guy in charge of them,
Yeah, well, probably.
And Dalinar tells Sadeas not to press him on this. Sadeas tells him that if he tries to steal his property, then he will have every right to attack him. And Kaladin thinks that this is just another promise killed, and he turns away. Despite his good intentions, Dalinar Kholin was the same as the others. And then the men around Kaladin gasp, and he turns around and he sees that Dalinar has summoned his shard blade. Sadeas stumbles back and Dalinar takes a step forward and he drives the blade right into the middle of the Thath glyph. He takes a step back and he says, "For the Bridgemen." He will exchange the blade for every single Bridgeman in Sadeas' camp. They will become Dalinar's. Sadeas says that the weapon is worth kingdoms, and Adolin shouts, "Father, no!" But Dalinar asks Sadeas if they have a deal. And Sadeas, he glances at Kaladin, and he hesitates briefly before grabbing the sword and telling Dalinar to take the storming creatures.
See, that hesitation, Sheta, shows you how much he wants to punish Kaladin. He knows what happened. He's taken notice of this guy who's continually fucking up his plans,
Oh, I didn't read it like that at all. Well, I thought it was like, he's like, seriously? Like, you want my stinky slaves? Like,
and your reading of Sadeas is still too kind.
I don't think he even really knows or cares who Kaladin is,
I think he does. The guy fucked up his strategy, survived a high storm, has become like a figure of note in the camp, and is now with Dalinar after he just survived,
I don't know until he says something about it. I'm gonna think he's just
Kaladin, like that.
Yeah, no, I think he barely remembers it. He's been referring to Kaladin's like manager, not Kaladin himself. When he talks about that.
The earlier thing he could believe, the fuck up, the surviving the heist storm, but this is just one thing too many, I think.
I think later when he finds out that they rescued him, he's going to be pissed. But I think right now he's just kind of concerned with Dalinar,
And he does know who Kaladin is. He doesn't know the name, but before it's like, this Bridgman looks familiar. Yeah, he's a guy from before. Oh yeah, the Miracle.
Yeah. I think he knows as much as that. He's not like, curse Kaladin in Bridge 4. Like, I don't think he gives a shit about them. Like,
I don't think it's like that, but I think he wants somebody to purge out his to blame for this, and Bridgemen are the perfect one to do because they did do this. I mean, Kaladin already said he thinks that the guy above him is going to suffer the same fate as the previous guy did.
Well, yeah, that guy. Yeah, I think he wants to kill that guy, but he didn't even punish them before, I think he did.
Yes, he did. He put him in a high storm.
Yeah, but that's just like a little thing to take care of, I think you overestimate Sadeas's attention and care for a lowly Bridgman,
I think you underestimate his pettiness, Sheta.
We'll see.
Dalinar leaves, and Sadeas shouts at him that those men are worthless and that Dalinar's a fool. And I think he even says, like, this will be known as, like, one of the worst trades in history.
Nah, bro. It's going to be known as the best by the end of this book, for sure, or this series, for sure.
Yeah, he just ate his own words there when he said that.
Sadeas is going to be killed, with that Stormblade, because even though he's a pretty skilled fighter, he doesn't take it as seriously as everyone else does, and it'll wind up in Kaladin's hands one day or something like that.
No, Dalinar's other son will get it.
No way.
Dalinar, he doesn't look back, and he just keeps on walking, and he walks up to Kaladin. He tells him to gather his things and the men that he left behind. He tells him that he will be safe in Dalinar's camp. He has Dalinar's word on it.
Or Dalinar's just like, this Bridgman thing is a good idea. I need some of my own.
Well, maybe, but not the same way.
No, God, no.
Well, all right, Sheta, let me go through these next, 2 sentences I've written down. 3 sentences. Okay. Dalinar begins walking away, and Kaladin asks, wait, what happened? Dalinar turns around and sets his gauntlet on Kaladin's shoulder. He says that he doesn't know what has been done to Kaladin, but he will not be a Bridgman in Dalinar's camp, nor will they be slaves.
Okay.
And then this whole next section, I'm not going to read it right now because I have a strong feeling it's going to be somebody's quote.
Good feeling.
But it's so hard because it's hard to sum it up without saying everything. But it's also the culmination of Dalinar and Kaladin's stories, both in this next little thing with them talking. But they have a little thing, and in the end, Dalinar pretty much just says that the trade was a bargain. And Kaladin asks Dalinar if, is that what you planned all along when you said you take care of Sadeas? Dalinar tells them that no, that wasn't taking care of Sadeas. That was taking care of Kaladin and his men. Dalinar still has some work to do today.
My God, did Dalinar become badass in that?
He came into himself for sure.
Mm-hmm. He says it in a bit. He figures out his role now, so now he knows what to do.
Yee.
He's been trying to act in a different role this whole time and just doing it fucking embarrassingly bad.
Because he wasn't fully had the full conviction of it yet,
Mm-hmm.
But now, I imagine if they film this scene, he's gonna come in and he will just grab Navani and just do a little make out in front of everyone kind of thing. That's just the kind of guy he is now.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, everyone will see it. She's like, fuck everyone. And we're like, oh,
fuck everyone. Yep, that's what Dalinar says. And then he bones her right there on the floor.
All right, so now we cut to a little bit later. Dalinar arrives in Elhokar's sitting room, enters, and he closes the door. And Elhokar right now, he's wearing his...
I'm sorry, just when you do that to the king, that's a pretty ballsy, scary thing to do. Close it, lock it behind you.
And Elhokar was wearing his shard plate, and he's looking at some maps. And Elhokar asks if Dalinar has heard the rumors about himself and his mother. And Elhokar, he says he's growing intolerant of Dalinar's reputation because it reflects poorly on Elhokar.
Oh my god. There is something I wanted him to do right after he said that this was kind of like my Vin Zane moment, Sheta. I did not think things were going to go exactly as I've wanted them to the entire book here.
Dalinar doesn't say anything, and he walks up to Elhokar. Elhokar asks if everything is all right, and that he has heard of some mishap on his assault today. Did he miss anything vital? Dalinar says yes, and then he kicks Elhokar in the chest.
What kind of dipshit king wouldn't know, wouldn't get all the details about something that serious that had happened to his own fucking uncle, you know? And one of the top people in the kingdom. That's crazy to me that he would be like, I heard some stuff. Is this true about a mishap? Like he didn't... A real king would have been like, give me all the information because it's available to him, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. The fact that his mom knew that information and she's not part of that, you know, just shows how aloof he is, you know.
Dalinar now just begins to beat on Elhokar as Elhokar is calling for his guards, but nobody comes in.
What a little bitch.
Why is it so funny when someone calls for their guards? Like,
because it's pathetic, especially because he's in full plate. He should be able, if he was like a real Alethi, to kick his ass. He shouldn't be like this off guard, this pathetic, you know, relying on others, you know, all this shit.
Yeah. You should be able to hold your own at least.
Yep, and Elhokar, he tries to summon his shard blade, but the exact moment that it appears, Dalinar kicks it away, and then it vanishes again. And eventually, Dalinar shatters the breastplate of Elhokar's armor, and Elhokar drops to the ground. He struggles to get back up, because without that, you know, breastplate, you're losing a lot of the strength, so it's much heavier to lift up everything else. And Elhokar calls for his guards again, but Dalinar tells him that they won't come, because they are loyal to Dalinar.
Stop calling for you. And what kind of dipshit king allows his guards to be all loyal to one guy? Like, he doesn't pay any attention. He just relies on everything to work out just fine. It drives me nuts. Supposedly so paranoid, and yet you get yourself into this position. That's what I think I'm trying to say.
Well, it also, you go earlier in the book when Dalinar was telling Adolin, all right, the guards we have today, are they the ones most loyal to us?
Yeah, he was planning this out for a while, you know, not this specifically, but something. To get yourself in that position when you're paranoid of assassins is crazy, because getting killed by your own guard is like the top way to kill a king, you know, like every man should be super vetted.
And Elhokar asks why he is doing this, and Dalinar says that Elhokar had cut the girth on his saddle himself. The saddles had been switched, and Elhokar did that because he did not want to ruin his favorite saddle.
And that's the best part. Not only is he weirdly paranoid doing this thing, but he doesn't want to destroy his favorite saddle. So he gives away that's just such a huge clue.
That's a so weird thing to happen, you know? Everyone noticed.
It's too stupid. Yeah.
Even the stable boy noticed. Yeah, he didn't ride his favorite saddle today for some reason. He's just very stupid or something.
Childish is how I feel.
Yeah, childish.
Yeah, but Dalinar says that you did it yourself, and that's why you were so certain that the girth had been cut. Elhokar replies that someone was trying to kill him, but Dalinar wouldn't believe him, and he was worried that, you know, it might have been Dalinar. And he did something so visible, so that way Dalinar or Sadeas would have to investigate. Dalinar asks if Elhokar realizes what he has done. He had brought suspicion on Dalinar's camp and gave Sadeas an opportunity to destroy him. And Elhokar says that he had to know and that he didn't trust anyone. And Dalinar asks him about the cracks in Elhokar's, you know, gems in his armor. But Elhokar says that, no, I didn't do that. So Dalinar notes that means that they did uncover something then. And then he puts his gauntlet onto Elhokar's chest and tells him that if I push, then you die. People already whisper that the Blackthorn should have taken the throne for himself years ago, and your guards are loyal to me. Nobody would avenge you, nobody would care. And then Dalinar releases Elhokar and says that your paranoid may be unfounded or it may be founded, but, I am not your enemy. He has spent years following Elhokar. If he wanted to kill Elhokar, then he already could have done it a dozen times over. And if Elhokar acts like a child, the Dalinar will treat him like one. Dalinar tells Elhokar that tomorrow, you're going to name me High Prince of War. He tells him that Sadeas betrayed him today and that 6,000 of his men were slaughtered. Elhokar asks if they expect, to bring Sadeas to trial, but Dalinar says that Sadeas is no better or worse than all the others. Dalinar intends to unite them in more than just name. So tomorrow, Dalinar will be named High Prince of War, and he's going to give his shard blade to Renarin in order to fulfill a promise. He will enforce the codes in all 10 war camps, and he will coordinate the war effort directly. All the gem hearts will be won by the throne, and then they'll be distributed by Elhokar to who needs them. They will change this from a competition into a real war. Elhokar shouts that the High Princes will revolt. Dalinar says, well, they won't be pleased, and there will be danger. We're going to need to be more careful with their guards, but someone's trying to kill Elhokar, so they should already be doing that anyways. And Elhokar points out that Dalinar before had said that, it was wrong to try to force the others to follow the codes. Instead, Dalinar should just do it, and the others should be influenced by his example. Dalinar says that was before the Almighty lied to him. He had learned his lessons from the Way of Kings, but there was something he didn't understand. Nohadon had written that book at the end of his life after he created order. It was written to embody an idea for people who already had momentum in doing what was right. Dalinar has been trying to treat the High Princes like adults, but they aren't ready for that. Adults are able to, take stuff and work with it. But, instead he's going to treat, they are children. So he's going to treat them like children and force them to do stuff until they learn it. Dalinar says it will make something of Elhokar. The High Princes have given oaths to Gavilar, but now ignore them. And they are going to stop letting them do that. They will win this war, and they will turn Elhokar into a place men will envy again. Not because of their military prowess, but because their people are safe and justice reigns. They are going to do this, or they'll die trying. Dalinar says he has been trying to be Nohadon the Peacemaker, the Peacekeeper, but he's not. He's the Blackthorn. He has no talent for politicking, but he is good at training troops. So starting tomorrow, every man in the camps will be his, and he sees them all as raw recruits, including the High Princes. Dalinar says that Elhokar will make the pronouncement, and in return, Dalinar will find out who is trying to kill him. And Elhokar tells him, well, that's going to be easy, because tomorrow you can add every single name of the war camps on the list. And Dalinar tells Elhokar not to be so glum, because he learned something today, that his uncle doesn't want to kill him. And he tells him not to fret, and that he already has some plans on how to keep him alive. And then Dalinar opens the door and he shows the guards, who are looking kind of anxious, that, see, Elhokar's alive, it's fine. And then right before Dalinar leaves, he tells Elhokar that he and his mother are now courting, so he's going to have to get accustomed to that. And
by the way, I'm
moment,
your mom.
Yeah, that's the best add-on ever. Stifler, I totally boned your mom. What? No!
Elhokar looks at Dalinar in pure astonishment. Like, this was the one part of all this that shocked him the most. And Dalinar was still confused on a lot of things, but at least now he has something to work with. And that's the end of part 4.
I really like that thing about, the codes being they're designed for people who've already earned them, I think that's really interesting. I haven't seen that explored in anything that I can think of, because we have so many rules we live and abide by, but people forget what they mean, Just the idea that they're designed for people who've lived through them and earned them, and then generations later, people have become fat and lazy and forget what they actually mean. I find very interesting when you think of it both in like a religious and like a governmental way, Like, people don't really remember what the Constitution was made for. They think it's all these other things, and they don't realize it came from a people who had to fight and die to earn it, And so the arguments people have about it now seem so stupid when you're fat and lazy just watching TV all day, you know. I find it very interesting to explore in this book, and I hope it's explored further going forward.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the context is not even something that they know or they can put it in because it's so different now.
Yeah, and the idea that you can't give people these ideals in the time when they actually need them. You know, like you can't say, "Oh, be honorable, don't hurt, do what don't do to your troops what you wouldn't do," because in the time these are people who are like, what, fuck that, I don't want to die, you know.
Well, that
But
doesn't make sense.
afterwards you can be like, oh, let's hold these ideals so when the next thing comes we have them already, kind of, you know. Like, yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you know, with the Constitution things, you don't really need to worry about free speech and a free press until the time comes when it actually matters to have one. In the meantime, it's not something you'd really think about that much, you know?
Yeah.
And it's same with a lot of those things.
Yeah. In peace times, you don't really think about things. And
but you need these rules so when the bad time comes, you'll already have them. I think that's it. And they'll already be in your people's philosophies. But when the bad times are here and you don't have them, you're not going to be able to sell that to the people fighting in these wars and stuff, you know?
Mhm.
Like, how are you supposed to say thou shalt not kill to people during wartime? That's something for peacetime. I think that's another version, you know? But then the Alethi are opposite because these are clearly designed for war specifically, and they don't really understand that they are currently at war and something worse is coming.
Yeah. I've been waiting for Dalinar to take a harder hand like this for a long time. Kind of like a father's hand to children like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like more like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to hold your hand and tell you and teach you from scratch, you know, like because I'm like the way you know he's trying to teach his sons that now, like they're kind of grown up sons, so they're it's not the same, you know, but it's still hard for them to learn new things like that, you know. And I think I've been wanting him to do that for a while because I'm like, these people are not gonna get the fundamentals of what you're saying and stuff, you know.
And they don't have to listen to it right now, you know? So if you just hand them these ideals, they're going to be like, those sound like a lot of work and they don't really benefit me, you know? You've got to force them to follow them, you know?
Yeah, and then they'll see on their own, oh, that was useful, you know. Like that's what
That's the
happened with
child
Adolin,
aspect,
you know.
yeah.
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 You're like, oh, I guess my dad was right all these years, you know. Like you learn that later when you grow up, you know. So like, yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's exactly what happened with Adolin when he starts to see that his dad was right and that his way did make better soldiers and stuff like that, you know.
I'm consistently interested and impressed with Brandon Sanderson's themes in these books because he advertises them like they're just magic system action world building books, but they're actually always about something much, much, I don't know, more specific to what his thoughts probably are in these things, or on like specifically about religion, but it seems like he's tying into deeper themes here. So
Yeah.
I'm always impressed. I'm curious to see what more we get out of this.
It's a lot of stuff like I think that we can all relate to in some way or another, you know.
Yeah, that is a thing where I saw Brandon say that in like this one video he did where he said that, like, yeah, he purposely tried to market himself and like build himself up being known as the magic system guy. That's like his gimmick and stuff. When in reality, his books, it's not so much the magic system, it's the characters and stuff. And one thing I like about this this chapter, especially with Kaladin, you know, Dalinar giving up the shard blade and stuff for Kaladin's men, because it goes back to, you know, Amaram and everything like that, where Kaladin was betrayed for a shard blade. You know, so kind of in his mind, the shard blade represents everything wrong with the Light Eyes. You know, he has no reason to trust them and everything like that. He doesn't believe them. He was betrayed in order to get a shard blade. And then right here, Dalinar gives up a shard blade to save Kaladin and all his men and all the bridge men. So the thing that represents like the everything wrong with the Light Eyes, Dalinar just gives it up.
That's true.
I wonder if he's gonna now change his mind about what that means, Like, maybe I can have a shard blade.
And like, it also goes back to like Kaladin, because like how he gets freed. He doesn't go and fight all the Light Eyes. He doesn't escape. He doesn't do any of that. The way that he saved all his men and he got everyone freed and stuff was by doing what was right. He had no connection to Dalinar. He had no reason to save him. He only saved him because that was the right thing to do, and that's what wound up saving Kaladin's men.
Yep. It's a thing, a little bit like what his dad was saying about you gotta give first, and that's how it starts. And like, you might not get the paid back for that for a long time, but you should, or ever even, but you should still do it.
Yeah,
like,
if you don't do
right
it, then others can't follow, right?
Yeah. So his dad paid it forward, and now I think Kaladin has received,
Paid
the
it
good.
forward. His dad did not get much out of doing the right thing.
No, he lost both his sons, and probably worse. Yeah.
Anything else from this chapter either you two want to go over?
Just to reiterate how much I liked watching Dalinar beat the shit out of the king. I enjoyed that too goddamn much. I have hated that character since almost his first chapter, and I'm glad to see that the things I don't like about him, the book agrees with me on.
Yeah, I was always like, oh, you're too hard on him, but
no,
I couldn't. That reveal was pretty scary to me, that like he had been kind of stupidly doing all this stuff,
the
whole time. Like his I thought he was ignorant of that stuff, but he was doing it on purpose.
I didn't suspect that he cut his own strap. That's pretty extreme and weird.
And so the title of this chapter was Justice. Why do you believe that was chosen for the chapter title?
Because Kaladin finally saw some justice and the thing on the ground.
Oh yeah, the thing on the ground. Maybe this is the first time we see true justice or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not look like what you think it would look like, like you might think, oh, it should end with Sadeas being killed or something, but it's not.
Yeah, my favorite part in here is when Dalinar says he's the same. All the Bright Lords are the same. Like, killing Sadeas would basically just be a vanity thing for yourself. It wouldn't achieve anything. It wouldn't matter at all, So,
I always thought Dalinar, he was trying to be a good guy, but I would never really like. I always thought he was kind of a bad guy, just because of his past and his like inner desires that we've kind of learned about. He wanted to kill his brother, and he's got this bloodlust in him. So I never really believed that he was an actual good guy. So I was kind of worried that he was gonna what he was gonna do, like kill Sadeas, steal Kaladin from him or something like that. But it was only when he gave up his shard blade that I believed that he was actually a good guy, and he did the right thing there and stuff.
That's more than a good guy thing. That's a pretty extreme, like, borderline hero thing,
Yeah, like he's a true hero, like the olden times, like that's never been seen in this time before. Yeah. So I think with everything we've learned about Dalinar, how we all talked about how he really became who he was trying to be in these chapters, I think that point was the highest point, or the proof that he has become elevated and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So before we go to the theories and predictions segment, I'm just going to tell you, because next week we'll be reading the rest of the book, all of part 5, going all the way to the end, read the, Ars Arcanum, everything. But I will just in case it might add into your theorizing, because first, there is no interludes. It's just going to go right into part 5, which is the only time in all the Stormlight books that there is no interludes between parts.
Ooh.
So I will give you the POV characters for part 5, in case that helps you with throwing out some theories. So the characters we have for part 5 are Shallan, Dalinar, Kaladin, Zeth, Wit.
Yeah, I knew Wit was going to be on there. I just had a feeling.
I thought he was gone for the book. Gone for the rest of the book.
I'm not going to ask any questions because there's only 1 week left. So if you have any theories or predictions you want to throw out, go ahead and throw them out.
I can't believe we're on the last leg. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, you can't see the book. I always forget.
Yeah.
I was surprised there was any book left. Yeah, Sheta, a long-ass time ago, you said you believed that Kaladin was a reincarnation of the old knights, remember?
Uh-huh.
So when they said, I found who I'm looking for, or that title and stuff like that, the name in the chapter, that got me thinking, maybe you have something there. That's the theory I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
That maybe Kaladin is like maybe these things were reborn into life. Maybe he was the one who refused to give up, like the one they all left behind, something like that. You remember? Yeah.
Of course.
I don't necessarily believe that, but that moment and the way that he was reacted to and stuff like that and the idea that they were looking for someone out here was the main thing, which I didn't expect to be a thing. That's pretty crazy, That's what got me thinking maybe Sheta wasn't totally crazy. But then when you didn't seem to even remember you'd said that, then I'm like, oh, I guess she is crazy.
I am not. I remember that theory.
You acted like I was insane when I was talking about that earlier.
I remember it now that you said that.
And, okay.
And to add to that too, like the Parshendi also, like I didn't think that guy said it to Kaladin. I thought it was Dalinar, but the Parshendi have been saying a weird name to Kaladin every time he starts showing off the powers, So
they have
that, yeah. Like the first time he showed it, they said the name and they kind of all backed off and stuff,
Neshua Kadal.
Yeah, They said that. So that adds to that theory, Justin. We did it.
We did it.
I mean, I did it, actually.
You did it, Sheta. Yeah. You're a genius. Other than that, I don't think I have any theories that we haven't already said.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be that because I kind of always hate when like a nobody becomes a somebody and then it turns out that they were always a somebody. That's probably one of my most hated tropes. So I don't want it to be that, but I'm starting to warm up to it. Could be.
Yeah, I don't know. He's very good at fighting, and his life has been kind of unextraordinary until when we came in and stuff, So I don't know if whatever he is gonna be that big of a deal, but Syl did appear to him, so
that's the other thing. And if she's an oath spren, like an honor spren and stuff, that's a pretty big deal. That's not just a little thing,
he's the only one who didn't break his oath, that would be good.
Maybe it also depends. It also depends how rare this ability is too, Like nobody seems to have it, nobody remembers it, but is it something that a lot of people could technically learn if they knew more about it, or something that's in your blood that you're born with,
I always thought that it was not something you were born with, but something that you learn, and if you learn it, you have it, That's why I think
we don't know.
Anyone, I agree with you about Kaladin being special is kind of stupid, but
I didn't say it's stupid. I said that's my most hated trope. That doesn't mean it's bad,
I know. I don't mean that, but if it is just that Kaladin has learned to have honor and that is what granted him the special power and stuff, and that anyone can learn it, that might be interesting, because I keep thinking back on that scene where Dalinar's in the storm and he's in the past and stuff, and he sees all these random people from all over the world having these powers, I think it's just people who learned it, or people who have learned the words and who have committed their lives to the words and its meanings and stuff,
I forgot the word thing. That was actually the main reason I thought that might be what he is. I forgot about that completely.
Because you remember that?
Because he knows these words he's never heard before, and still just expects him to know them. That's what made me think he might have been part of that ancient order in a previous life. Or he was the one who was left behind, and so he just does have that in him, and he's the only one who held on to it,
Yeah.
Well, there is one thing. Syl already told us how he's getting his powers. It's because of their connection. She said that, like, he's getting the powers, and then she's getting more of like a mind.
Yeah, but we have no idea how common that is, and we have no idea if that's something that anyone can do or just him. We don't know anything about it.
Yeah, because even though that was my theory originally, I am changing it to the anyone can cook kind of one, where he is learning it. He summons Syl. They have that connection, and because he had that weird dream where he was flying around during a storm, when you are accepted into that, you kind of become part of a cloud, like an iCloud, and you get the knowledge that way,
like an iCloud.
Yeah. Like you're part of the cloud. You have access to the cloud, and that information and that power is now you are part of it, and you can channel it and stuff. And that's the storm power, and that's how you access it. And I think anyone can access it if they follow the right words, the right paths and stuff like that. So that's why I don't think that Kaladin is special specifically like that, but I think he is the best that we've got right now.
He's been uploaded to the iCloud. Yes. I got you.
Yeah, Dalinar is too. That's why he's been connecting. But
and all
accidentally.
the visions, they're all uploaded to the cloud, and that's why all their photos got mixed up. It's a whole mess. Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay, maybe it's more like a Google Drive, but
much more similar. Yeah.
I thought the iCloud was good because
anyone with a link can access this. Yep.
Yes. With the words, which is the link.
That's the password. Yeah, to log in. This is actually a techno world. Actually, they're in the Matrix, and that's why you need to say the password before you can become the one. Yeah.
Stop it. Those are not part of my theory.
No, I heard you. This is canon with the Matrix. I gotcha.
No.
They're defying gravity just because of all that. Makes as much sense as anything that was just said. Sounds good.
Because, Moash was starting to get kind of good at that too, and I think all the crew, they're starting to get that. They're almost ready to be uploaded.
And interesting idea. No evidence to back it up. So that means that in 2 books, I'm going to be apologizing to you for it all being true.
Also think like Dalinar's mission is to unite them, and one is more uniting than under an oath like that in the cloud,
You're just making stuff up now.
I'm not. And he even talks about the Parshendi, which I've already said are linked up like that, They have followed their ways and they're like together,
Without evidence, you will never convince me of anything ever. You can't just
These
say
are clues.
Idea and then have me be like, yes, that's cool. So it must be true.
Justin, what was your theory based off of? My
evidence.
Theory.
Like I said, in 2 books, I'll be apologizing for ever doubting your mighty, whatever the fuck, crazy spirit channeling you're doing.
I'm in the cloud, Justin.
Yeah.
I'm in the cloud with Brandon Sanders.
You're channeling people who read this book and died, and they're just telling you all the secrets.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other theories or anything?
I guess I'm going to retract a theory that I had, which is that Dalinar's second son was evil.
That was, obviously.
I'm sorry. I forget his name.
Renarin.
Yeah. I'm sorry I doubted Renarin. He did nothing wrong.
That's right, he did nothing wrong. There was no reason to suspect him.
He was just kind of sitting there, so I was like, why are you sitting there? So
when I thought Dalinar was gonna die, I thought that it could reveal he was working with Sadeas. The second Dalinar is alive, there's no fucking way,
Yeah, I hope he will do more in later books and stuff, and that's why he's just sitting there right now. But
he's gonna have fate.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right, then let's move over to our characters of the week.
Dude, easiest character of the week I've ever picked. It's Dalinar.
Dalinar. Yeah.
Dude, he beat the shit out of Elhokar. He came into his own. He survived that battle. He immediately put things together. He traded his sword for a bunch of useless slaves. This is one of the most badass things I've ever seen. He gave like a couple really badass speeches to people. Yeah. I'm very excited to see how he's going to be in future books after all this.
He completely got like all the confidence in the world to do anything. Like he seems like unstoppable and invincible now, you know.
He's free now, you know, free of all the shit that was holding him back.
Yeah.
He made out with Navani, did her right
totally
on the
made
floor
out
there, right in front of everyone, told the king, I'm fucking your mom, and then left.
Yeah, all these worries like, oh, I wonder what Elhokar would say. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder what people would say. You know, it's like, you know, who cares? What does it matter what they say? You know, and like all these things, his worries, his inhibitions, like, all these little human-y things. You know, it doesn't matter. And so I just thought that was. And he's just pure. Like he went like he's just following this pure path where he's just doing all the right things, you know.
For me, I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna go with Kaladin. I
thought you were gonna say Sadeas.
The opposite would be Sadeas.
I was like,
I like, you know, Kaladin, like him realizing, all right, we have to go back, telling all the guys that, going back, you know, saying the ideal, fighting, doing all this. I just really liked it. It's one more but this week easily the only choices really are Kaladin or Dalinar. It's really hard to choose against them.
I'm gonna be honest, Sadeas was pretty interesting this chapter.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have yelled at you if you picked him, Sheta.
He lost, so I'm not gonna pick a loser.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. If he
That's
had killed Dalinar, you would have picked him for sure, because winners always win.
Yeah. Those are the facts.
Justin, you could have picked Elhokar.
Why the fuck would I do that? I literally picked my pick because he kicked Elhokar's ass, like the little bitch he is.
Could have picked him for getting beaten up.
No. I would never pick somebody because I'm happy to watch them get beaten up.
All right. Now let's move over to quotes.
Okay. I'm going to pick the quote that you knew someone was going to pick.
You monster, Sheta. It's okay.
I know. I don't have a backup, so that's why I jumped in first. Dalinar turned to him. Then the High Prince laid a hand on Kaladin's shoulder, the gauntlet gleaming blue, mismatched with the rest of his slate gray armor. I don't know what has been done to you, but I can only guess what your life has been like. But know this, you will not be bridgemen in my camp, nor will you be slaves. But what is a man's life worth? Dalinar asked softly. The slave masters say one is worth about 2 emerald roams, Kaladin said, frowning. And what do you say? A life is priceless, he said immediately, quoting his father. Dalinar smiled, wrinkle lines extending from the corners of his eyes. Coincidentally, that is the exact value of a shard blade. So today you and your men sacrificed to buy me 2,600 priceless lives. And all I had to repay you with was a single priceless sword. I call that a bargain. You really think it was a good trade, don't you? Kaladin said, amazed. Dalinar smiled in a way that seemed strikingly paternal. For my honor, unquestionably. Go and lead your men to safety, soldier. Later tonight, I will have some questions for you. So cute! I just love that. That's, I think we all agreed that was the best quote.
Best quote in the book, I would say.
Yeah.
That was really strong. And really, like Joe said, it was the themes of the entire thing, all booked up together. And the opposite of what a lot of the people out here think, which makes it really interesting to see that these two men agree on this.
both their storylines like colliding and building up. And you're getting stuff from Liren being thrown in too there, so you're getting the flashbacks tied in. It's all coming to a head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the priceless thing I think is really fun and fascinating, you know. And
Yeah.
you know, when he put down the blade, a part of me is like, man, that's a big trade. I'm like, no, it's not. He almost died, you know? Like
Yeah.
he literally almost died. If Kaladin hadn't risked everything to save him, he'd be dead. This is the only honorable choice. And then to buy honor, which is the actual most valuable thing, I found very interesting too. A lot of stuff to work with in there. Very interesting.
Yeah. He's like, one measly sword for 26,000 lives. Yeah, no, that's a good
including
deal.
my own and my son's.
Uh-huh. And Kaladin was just amazed that he saw it that way, you know, because nobody else, everyone thinks shard blades are everything, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. The value of something is not, you know, it's in the person who values it, you know. So I think that's really nice that they shared that together and they both knew what happened, you know.
And I also like how Dalinar, he didn't use it just to save Bridge 4 or the men who came with them. He saved every bridgeman in Sadeas'
I
camp.
like that a lot. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one of Kaladin's worries, you know, because he's like, even if I get my guys out, you know, there's all these other guys here, and he's gonna be unhappy with that, you know. He feels bad that he didn't actually solve anything, you know. So I really like that. That's way better of a deal. Also, that one scene with all the people in their shard stuff in the past, I'm like, that shard blade's not gonna be worth anything soon, you know. Like,
oh, because you think there's gonna be so much.
Yeah, I think everyone's gonna get one. Like,
that would be funny. Yeah.
yeah, if
All
Dalinar got like all of the crew, the bridge people, and their loyalty like that, he's gonna have gained that many shard like wielder people, you know. So he's gonna be like, that was a really good deal, you know. Like,
all right, my new quote was touched upon, but not fully said. The book was written to embody an ideal. It was given to people who already had momentum in doing what was right. That was my mistake. Before any of this can work, our people need to have a minimum level of honor and dignity. Adolin said something to me a few weeks back, something profound. He asked me why I forced my sons to live up to such high expectations, but let others go about their errant ways without condemnation. I have been treating the other high princes and their light eyes like adults. An adult can take a principle and adapt it to his needs, but we're not ready for that yet. We're children. And when you're teaching a child, you require him to do what is right until he grows old enough to make his own choices. The Silver Kingdoms didn't begin as unified, glorious bastions of honor. They were trained that way, raised up like youths, nurtured to maturity. I like that one for a similar reason to the other one, in that I think it captures what a lot of the themes of this series are going to be. And we already discussed in length why that was a cool part. So I just wanted to say the full quote.
yeah, that was a good part.
All right, and then mine is the whole part where Kaladin is confronting about whether or not to go back to save Dalinar. I've been here before, Kaladin bellowed, turning back toward that blue banner. Dalinar always fought at the front. What happened last time? Kaladin yelled. I've learned. I won't be a fool again. It seemed to crush him. Sadeas' betrayal, his exhaustion, the deaths of so many. He was there again for a moment, kneeling in Amram's mobile headquarters, watching the last of his friends being slaughtered, too weak and hurt to save them. He raised a trembling hand to his head, feeling the brand there, wet with sweat. I owe you nothing, Colin. And his father's voice seemed to whisper a reply. Somebody has to start, son. Somebody has to step forward and do what is right because it is right. If nobody starts, then others cannot follow. Dalinar had come to help Kaladin's men attacking those archers and saving Bridge 4. The Light Eyes don't care about life, Liren had said, so I must. So we must. So you must. Life before death. I've failed so often. I've been knocked to the ground and trod upon. Strength before weakness. This would be death I'd lead my friends to. Journey before destination. Death and what is right. We have to go back, Kaladin said softly. Storm it. We have to go back. Like, as I said when I was going through that, just the whole thing where Kaladin just fighting with himself, just trying to convince himself that, he shouldn't go back. He, like I said, has no reason to go back. He doesn't know he doesn't know Dalinar at all. He'll just cause the death of everybody. But in the end, it's just like he has to go back because it's the right thing to do. They can try to do something to save these men that are dying, and that's what they do.
Mm-hmm. I like how it touches into all the themes of the codes, not the codes, the first words, whatever they're called. I'm sorry, but how he ties that back into his own thoughts.
Mm-hmm. I also feel bad for criticizing Kaladin's dad back in the day.
I don't. He has a good philosophy.
Yeah, I still stand by that.
Choices because he thought things were going to work out,
Uh-huh.
And I don't think that providing medical care to a bunch of ungrateful assholes for absolutely no price and then relying on their charity to stay alive is noble. I just don't think it is. No. I think charging people what they can afford is noble, but that I think is just stupid and is just asking people to disrespect you. So
no, I still stand by all of that. I still stand by
that. Okay, you do?
I'm just saying this one thing about him having this greater picture ideal of the future, where goodness can be, and goodness and honor can be real, and other people will value that and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I still think all that stuff, but it's just that he had a bigger idea and it has now helped Kaladin, so that's all I'm saying,
I bet that all of his dad's stuff too made him really want to believe in Amaran, right? I didn't really think about that before. Mm-hmm. Just made him want to believe this was a world like that where people would think that way.
Mm-hmm. And like, we didn't really talk about it because it was really quick, but Kaladin saw the soldiers he wished existed in the Parshendi, and he saw the kind of light eyes lords that he always wished existed in Dalinar,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we're gonna see a really different Kaladin from now on. Like, he's gonna, I think he's gonna be, he has seen that now,
Mm-hmm.
All right. This episode, as I knew starting up, it's been a little bit longer recording, so we won't go over the comments or anything this week. We'll save that for like next week or the week after. But like I said, next week we're just finish the book, read everything else that's left in there. Yep, and yeah, so we finish it next week, and then the week after that we'll have a wrap-up episode. And yeah, we'll be done with this book that has been the longest book we've read so far.
Wow.
21 episodes this one, once we're next week, takes us to get through. 21 episodes.
What are normal ones? Or other books?
Like 4 episodes.
Elantris was 10, and then all 3 Mistborn books and Warbreaker were all 12 episodes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, this one's like almost twice the length of those ones, over twice the length that it took us to finish Elantris.
Okay.
And don't worry, there are longer books we still will get through too. All right. But yeah, that's everything. So, yep, everyone, finish the book, come back, join us next week. And maybe after you finish it, you know what? NHL playoffs are going off right now. Also watch some NHL playoffs. Sure, do that.
Or read NFL Super Pro.
Yep, your choice. Either
God. NFL Super Pro. Justin, don't you have a graphic novel of like the first 4 issues?
I do. I think it's just the first. I don't think it's 4. But yeah, hell yeah, I do, brother. And someday I'll hunt down the rest of those issues.
That was Kurt Busiek, wasn't it, that wrote that?
I thought it was Fabian Nicieza.
It's one of those 2. I need to look up. Yep, it's Fabian. Okay.
Mm-hmm. For Super Bowl tickets.
Oh, good deal.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've read those first couple issues. I should just read the entire thing. Because it's only like 12. Wait, hold on. Oh, wait. Fabian left after 4 issues, replaced by Buzz Dixon. One of Dixon's issues which featured Hopi villains, drew substantial complaint from Hopi representatives, leading to Marvel to recall the comic. Dixon left Super Patrol after 3 issues.
So I'm never going to be able to find it. It's going to be a rare comic. God damn it. I'm never going to finish that complete run.
All right. Yep, everyone, there's your goal. Forget about the playoffs. Just go find and read NFL Super Pro. 12-issue comic from the early 90s.
And get ready for his adaptation in Doomsday.
Well, I just saw the character that NFL Super Pro appeared in that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon.
Yes, he did, but just as a gym coach.
All right. Yep, so that's it, everybody. So yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ta-ta.